Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 11 of What If Naruto Was in Maken Key and Got a Harem. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Naruto was sitting on the couch with a dull look on his face as he had Cha-Cha and Azuki wrapped around his arms and Kimi lying against his torso as the four watched a romance movie, or chick flick as they are usually called. The girls were crying as they continued to watch, while Naruto was bored. I need some time off. Naruto thought. Takaro was screaming as he was tied to a log, which was part of Minori's training, as he was falling down a waterfall. I need some time off. Kango and Yuka were in a bush have intimacy, but suddenly a kunai went inside their bush, putting them on alert. Their heads popped out to see Tomiko. Nei-chan tilde, when did you get back? Yuka asked. Just now. Apparently Jen came back early so I was able to return to see how you all were doing. Tomiko said with a smile. Oh, isn't that nice? Yuka said with a smile. However, for Kango, he felt Tomiko's rising ki directed at him. I need some time off. The next morning, the men packed everything they'd need for a little trip. Once putting away the last item on their lists, they looked to each other with serious expressions and nodded before slinging their bags over their shoulders. Naruto was dressed in a white with black trimming undershirt, black leather pants and black ankle boots along with a black short sleeve open button shirt. Takaro was dressed in a yellow tight shirt with green curved lines at both sides of the front of the torso, brown shorts and black with green laced sidewinder shoes. Kango wore an army camo t-shirt, with black cargo pants and black with white laced and centered shoes. Ikus. Naruto said. Yosh. Takaro and Kango said in unison. The boys then walked out of the manor, but they were interrupted by someone. Where are you three going? They turned to see Haruko. We're off on a man trip. Naruto answered. Man trip? Haruko questioned with a raised eyebrow. We'll be gone for possibly a few days. Naruto said. Suddenly the rest of the house's residents ran out the house at a fast pace and stopped next to Haruko. What about you being gone for days? Azuki questioned with a raised eyebrow. There's this shrine I want to go to, and these two are tagging along with me. Naruto said. Then we'll join you. Haruko said with a smile. Sorry Haruko-ne, but it's for just us guys. Naruto said. Excuse me. Haruko questioned as she and some of the others didn't like that sentence. Look, we love you girls and all, but we need some guy time. I mean, every guys loves spending time with women and all, but there are times when a man needs to be a man and it's only better with fellow men. Kango said with a puffed out chest and gusto. We need to do stuff that we can't do around you, like scratch ourselves, release gas, tell dirty jokes and looking at. Okay, you convinced us. Haruko said with her hands up, not wanting to hear any more. Just be careful, the three of you. No sweat Haruko-ne. Naruto said with a grin and a thumbs up. We'll be just fine. Takaro said with a smile. Yuka then ran up to Kango and shared a passionate kiss with him. Don't lose that special gift of yours if you run into trouble. Yuka said with a smile as she poked Kengo's nose. You know I won't. Kango said with a smirk. Naruto-kun. Cha-Cha shouted as she and Kimi glomped Naruto, with Cha-Cha's breasts squishing Naruto's face. Don't die out there. Cha-Cha exclaimed with teary anime eyes. Or we'll follow you. Kimi exclaimed. Naruto smiled as he hugged them back. Then I'll make sure I don't die. Promise. Naruto said with a smile. Azuki made her way to the blonde, who separated from Cha-Cha and Kimi, and hugged him as well. Don't lose a single piece out there. Azuki said. You got it. Naruto said as he returned the hug. Furin then came up and hugged him when he was done with Azuki. Once done, he felt an arm wrap around his neck and pull him close, with the side of his face pressed against a pair of large breasts. Catch you later Foxy-kun. I'll have something special for you when you get back. Minori said with a grin and wink, making Naruto's face blush. Okay, now I have to make sure I come back. Naruto thought. Once separating, Aki made her way to the blonde. Naruto-kun. Naruto stared at the blushing brunette. Good luck. Aki said as she kissed him on the cheek, surprising him and the others. Hey. No fair tilde tilde. I never got to kiss Naruto-kun. Cha-cha exclaimed as she and the other girls started laying kisses on Naruto, with Minori grabbing the blonde and doing the old dip and kiss move, giving him a strong wet one against his lips. Takaro laughed at the sight. He wasn't sure how Naruto could deal with 6 women, plus 2 more somewhere else. Takaro turned to see Haruko standing in front of him. After a few moments of silence, she hugged him, surprising the orange-haired teen. Please be safe. Haruko said softly, making Takaro smile as he returned the hug. I will. Takaro said, holding her close, making Haruko blush with a smile on her face. Once they separated, Anaho quickly jumped at him and hugged him. I'll miss you, Takaro-sama. Anaho whined. I'll be back in a few days, so don't you worry about it. Besides, you have Manji and the others to keep you company. Takaro said with a smile as he hugged Anaho. That reminds me. Naruto, don't you take Matabi, Shukaku and Isobu just in case things get too hairy? Haruko asked. Nah. For the next few days, I'll not only count on my best friends to have my back, but I also intend to rely on my own strength and ingenuity to overcome any obstacle in my way. Naruto said as he pointed his thumb towards himself. So manly. Cha-cha said as she and Kimi's eyes shined as they stared at Naruto. Just don't go running like a baby if things get too dicey. Himegami said with a smirk. You know I won't. Naruto said with a smirk. Takaru-kun. Suddenly Syria blurred by and tackled Takaru into a hug. Don't leave me. Take me with you. Syria said as she held Takaru close with his face smooshed into her breasts. We might be here a while. Kango said as Naruto sighed. After managing to pry Syria off, with the help of Haruko and Anaho, the 3 young men were ready to head out. We'll see you all later. Naruto said as he, Takaru and Kango left, heading in the direction of their destination, the labyrinth. A shrine. I wonder what's so important about it. Anaho wondered. The boys had made it past the cliff and meadow where they were last time after everyone got sick, and were nearing the location. Right now the boys were eating lunch around a fire. They had killed a boar and some birds and captured a few fish for Naruto to cook. Man, even when you don't know what kind of animal or meat we've caught, you still know how to make them tasty, Naruto. Takaru said as he ate more of a cooked bird they hunted earlier. Yeah, I guess it's a gift. Naruto said with a smile. So besides our training, school and the girls, what else is there to talk about? Takaru asked. I do feel like talking anime. Naruto said, cupping his chin between his thumb and index. No way. Kango said, waving it off. I got an idea. Let's talk about our plans for the future. Naruto and Takaru stared at Kango with wide eyes. What? Kango questioned, only be awarded with silence. Fine, I'll go first. I plan on excelling in my shinobi training and becoming strong. Not the strongest, that's already taken by you, Naruto, but strong enough to fight by Yuka-chan's side on equal footing. And then after we graduate, Yuka and I will save up enough money, and then I'll get down on one knee and propose to her. She'll hopefully say yes and we'd have an extravagant wedding, and then we'll have many kids together and grow old together, and when we pass on, we won't stop until we find each other in the next life, be it in heaven or as new people. Kango said passionately with a wide smile and a hand over his heart. Naruto and Takaru stared at Kango with even wider eyes, surprised at his plan for the future. Okay, Takaru, you go. Kango said. Huh, why me? Just answer the question. Kango said. Oh, I guess just be strong enough to face off against Mayonaka Moon Shikai and anyone who tries to hurt my friends. Takaru said. Okay, we figured, but I mean where you see yourself as an adult. With a lady, kids, job, the works. What are we, women? Just answer the question. Kango shouted. Alright. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I just want to protect everyone, so I guess I'll join Tengoku no Mon for a while and then be a teacher at Tenbi later on. Takaru said. And what about girls? Kango asked. I don't. Well, there is this one that I've always had my eye on. Takaru said with a blush and looking down while scratching the back of his head. I guess I'll tell her how I feel. How I've always felt. Takaro said with an embarrassed smile as his cheeks heated up. Naruto and Kango blinked before looking at each other for a moment, then grinning. Good answer, man. Kango said with a smile. What about you, Naruto? I can't really say. Naruto said as he laid down on the ground with his hands behind his head. I never really had time to think about the future since I always have Mayonaka Moon Shikai on the brain. Just come up with something. It'll pop in your head. Kango said. Well, first, I want to marry all my girls. Furin, Azuki, Cha-Cha, Kimi, Minori, Yan, maybe Demetra. Woho tilde. Takaro and Kango said. As for occupation, I'll just hang with Tengoku no Mon for a while after we've taken down Mayonaka Moon Shikai, then I'll probably go into becoming a politician. Any kind of work with government authority. Naruto said. Didn't expect that, but cool. Although you better aim high, because if you plan on marrying all those girls along with Aki-sensei, you'll need a lot of money to pay for all the kids you nine will be having. Kango said with a cheeky smile. Although Naruto's eyes widened at how right Kango was. Goddammit, how come I got to be so lovable? Naruto said to himself, making his two friends laugh. Okay, moving on. Let's say, your friends come and get you and you live in Shinobi World again. Can I come back here whenever I want? Naruto asked, raising his head. For this one, let's say no, before we go with a yes. Kango said. I'd stop Akatsuki, beat some sense into Obito, kill Black Zetsu, and try to become Hokage. Oh, and I'd learn Sage Mode. Naruto said, lying back down. And what about love life, huh? Kango asked with a wiggling eyebrow and smirk. Seriously. What are we women? Naruto said with a dull look. That's what I said. Takaro said nonchalantly and a shrug. Just answer the question. Kango exclaimed. Why? What's so intriguing about? Wait, are you one of those people who wants to know who I'd choose, Hinata or Sakura? Naruto exclaimed, pointing at Kango. No. I just want to know your decision for love life in Shinobi World. Kango exclaimed with his hands up in defense. Naruto stared at him with stoic eyes for a few moments, but then sighed. I don't know. Naruto said as he lied back down. Kango and Takaro blinked their eyes in confusion. You don't know? Takaro and Kango questioned in unison. Yep. Naruto said with his eyes closed. But, why? Kango asked. I'm also curious. Takaro said. Naruto sighed. The night before Wabisuke and his friends kidnapped me, I saw Sakura confess to Sasuke in an alleyway. Naruto said. Oh tilde, Takaro and Kango said, now sympathizing with their friend. Well, I'm sure he rejected her. Takaro said. 2. Naruto said, raising 2 fingers. The other 2 said in confusion. 2 options. Sasuke could either let Sakura be his wife or Karen. Since he feels he'll have more benefits in Konoha, he'll probably take Sakura when they get older, and she'll wait. She waited 3 years and a few months for him. I think she can wait a few more years, especially since he's staying in Konoha. Naruto said. But dude, look at you. You're strong, cool, like every girl we come across wants you. You got a freaking fan club back at Tenbi. Wait, what? Naruto raised his head in surprise at Takaru's statement. And you're one of the nicest guys ever. Takaro said with a smile. Plus you can be calm and cool, you're smart, say badass lines, yell at people and they'd still love you, be hard-boiled, you take charge, take no shit from anybody, and people say you're an Adonis. Kango said while picking his nose with his pinky and flipping a booger. Your points? Naruto questioned. Oh, for the love of, are you acting retarded or are you really so naive? You're a perfect catch. Women in Shinobi World will bow at your feet and spread their legs begging you to complete them. Maybe Sakura saw you as a little brother before, but if she saw you now, you'd be a completely different person to her. Kango. Takaro shouted. Kango looked to see Takaro have a disapproving look on his face and point to Naruto. Once Kango looked to Naruto, he saw him stare into the sky with somber eyes. Oh, sorry man. Kango apologized, feeling genuinely sorry. I am different from months ago, but I'm still the same. Naruto said. Yeah, you still can be loud, hot-headed and a pain in the brain stem. Kango muttered. Dude. Takaro complained, but then Naruto suddenly started to laugh, confusing them. Ha ha ha. That's more like it. Naruto said with a smile, and a pair of eyes smiled. Takaro and Kango blinked their eyes, but then smiled. Anyway, my point is, seeing how you grown up, she'd fall head over heels for you. Kango said. That's some nice thinking. Naruto said. Well, what about Hinata? You know, now that you know she has a crush on you. Takaro asked. I'd ask her out on a date to see how things flow. Although I'm telling you guys right now, I am not following the route Naruto Prime traveled down. Naruto said. I hear ya. Kango said. So, what about if you could be able to travel between both worlds? What future do you see there? Takaro asked. I don't know. I guess I'd let the pieces fall and see where that would lead me. Then I'll make a choice when the time comes. Naruto said. When do you think that'll be? Can't say, but I'll know. Naruto said with a shrug. Best answer we'll get. Kango said. So Black Zetsu, how do you plan on finishing him? Kango asked. Naruto smirked as he sat up. Well, seeing as he's the will of Kagaya, a piece of her soul, it'd be fitting to see who's stronger between him, or... Suddenly Golden Asura appeared behind Naruto, with its arms bent and fists tightened as it yelled. O-R-A-A-A-A-A-A-A. Suddenly there was a loud roar in the distance. It's that thing from last time. Takaro exclaimed. Guess Golden Asura woke it up or something. Kango said. Takaro then gulped. Say Naruto, you don't think that roar would happen to be where? Golden flames flashed in Naruto's hand, giving the blonde his Hittite back, as he then took the map from inside the cloth and checked the map. Determining the direction of the sound and where they are headed on the map, Naruto just smirked, which was not a good sign for the other two. The three were coming in close to the labyrinth. All three kept their guard up in case of anything popping up, when suddenly a bright green intangible light came up from the ground. The three stopped and stared at the light, which turned out to be a barrier. Kango looked down to see some sort of flower petals with some powder were on the floor with the light coming off it. Okay, it's a spell, but maybe I can break it with this technique Tomiko-sensei taught. Aura. Golden Asura screamed as it punched the barrier, destroying the barrier in one hit. Never mind. Kango said as the three continued on. The section of the forest was littered with vines. The three walked through the vines, swatting them away. Suddenly the vines moved on their own, and grabbed hold of the three. What the hell? Takaro shouted with shock. Suddenly Naruto's body exploded with energy, causing all the vines to burn away. Cheap tricks. Naruto said as they ventured forward. After some trekking, they made it to see a large area with a temple-like entrance far across from them. There was an enormous stone gate with markings on it. Well, we made it. Kango said. What the hell? Takaro said as the other two turned to see him looking at a large platform that looked like it should hold something, but below it was some sort of large ancient stone tube with a hole at the top and one at the bottom, making it look like some kind of tube slide. Hey, look at that. Kango said pointing at a giant metallic ball with markings on it. Huh, well don't that just beat all? Naruto said. I guess we're supposed to take that ball and put it on that platform and it'll do something, like open the entrance somehow. Takaro voiced his speculation. Well, good luck with that you two. Kango said with Ahi's arms crossed. Naruto and Takaro looked to him. I don't train in physical prowess like you two freaks. Kango said with a shrug. Wimp. Naruto said. Meathead. Kango shot back with a dull glare. I'll go take care of it. I'm sure I can lift it up. Takaro said as he leapt forward and slid down from the higher level, down to the large area. You think there's more to this than it looks? Kango asked as he and Naruto stared at Takaro, heading over towards the giant metallic ball. No doubt. Obviously no one would make getting into that place so simple after the barrier and the vine trap. Naruto said with his arms crossed. Takaro made it to the ball and looked up to it. It overshadowed him easily. Seems simple enough. Takaro said as he then squatted down, grabbed the ball by the bottom and lifted it up over his head with all his might. Naruto and Kango watched as Takaro slowly lifted the giant ball over his head. Takaro stood straight up as he held the giant ball over his head. Yeah, simple. Takaro said with a smile. He then started to slowly make his way over towards the platform. Okay, something has to definitely be up. If Takaro can do it, then there's got to be something coming. Kango said. Takaro was doing some Zen breathing to keep his stamina strong and endure. Suddenly he heard something. Like large footsteps, coming in fast. What the fuck is that? Takaro heard Kango scream. Takaro turned his head, only for his eyes to widen as he screamed. Coming at him was a giant beast, and by giant I mean from those games God Eater and Monster Hunter beast size. It had a long, rectangular head, with a long black bone-like helmet that was over its snout and stretched over its head to the back of it. It had small yellow eyes with black pupils, brown skin, was four-legged with white long claws, black plates on its back, along its tail where long spike protruded from the tip of the tail. And of course it had sharp teeth. It was some kind of mega lizard. Takaro screamed as the monster charged and jumped at him. Takaro abandoned the giant ball and sprinted over to Naruto and Kango. Quickly making it over, the three looked to see the creature was on the ball, chewing on it. The hell is that thing? Kango questioned with wide eyes. I don't know, but I almost became its snack. Takaro shouted. Are we even able to beat that thing on our own? Kango questioned, not feeling entirely confident. I mean, he's faced strong opponents and a tree ogre yesterday, but this was an actual lizard monster. Its element is pretty strong. Might be better to avoid a fight. Naruto said. Avoid it. Really? Kango questioned. There's really no point. All we need is to get that ball on top of that platform. Naruto said. Easier said than done. Takaro said. Let me. Naruto said. Naruto jumped high into the air and landed across from the monster lizard. The beast noticed Naruto and growled. Naruto brought a finger up and gestured for the monster to come at him. The monster ignored him. It just kept chewing on the ball. Naruto, Takaro and Kango blinked their eyes as they stared at the beast. Did it just ignore Naruto? Takaro asked, not believing what he saw. Is he ignoring me? Naruto questioned. Naruto put his fists to his hips with an eyebrow raised. Naruto walked over to the beast and the ball, not feeling any fear as the beast stared down at Naruto. Naruto stopped in front of the ball, looked up to the monster, who continued to stare at him with its teeth still deep in the metallic ball. Naruto placed his hand on the ball, causing the monster to growl at him. Naruto pulled his hand back as he looked at the monster, who stopped growling, but when Naruto put his hand back on the ball, it started growling again, until Naruto pulled his hand away again. Naruto repeated the process a few more times, getting the beast to growl every time he touched the giant ball. Naruto put his hand back on the ball as the beast growled at him, but suddenly Naruto brought his other hand up, pointing up toward the beast as he created a Bijudama and fired it from his finger. The jutsu went flying into the sky, past the monster, and when it was far up it exploded, causing the mega lizard to look at the explosion of a glowing white ball in the sky. Naruto quickly gripped the ball with both hands, yanked the ball away and ran off towards the platform. The beast turned to see the perpetrator who stole his ball. It roared as it chased after him, but Naruto was staying ahead of it. Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, Suddenly the monster disappeared in a flash of green light and appeared in front of the Naruto and the giant ball. In deep shit. Naruto thought with wide eyes. Golden Asura. Aura. Golden Asura shouted as it dashed and punched the monster in the snout, only for the spot it punched to glow green as Golden Asura was shaking in place, which in turn caused Naruto to shake in place. The monster then pounced forward as it bit into the metal ball and started shaking its head side to side, as Naruto soon went flying as his lost his grip. Takaro and Kango watched as Naruto went flying into a tree. What the hell? Kango questioned with a raised eyebrow as he and Takaro were surprised at what happened. Kango gripped the handle of his katana and sent energy slashes at the beast, only for the monster to glow green upon impact as the energy slashes bounced off the monster and went flying back to Takaro and Kango, who screamed and jumped down to the area, before the energy slashes hit and exploded where they had stood moments ago. It's surrounded by some sort of barrier. Like a special ability a Maken user would have. Kango exclaimed as he and Takaro got up from the ground. So we can't even beat this thing even if we tried. Damn it. Takaro cursed. Naruto held his head as he got out of the tree. Not even Golden Asura could penetrate that shield, and he's a war machine compared to many attack from both worlds. Guess we have to use our heads for this. Naruto thought with a frown. Naruto jumped down as he quickly sped to his friends faster than the eye could see, and once stopping in front of them, they started coming up with a plan. The thing's got impregnable armor, can teleport, and has a fascination for that ball. Also, he's a fast motherfucker. The perfect guard dog. Kango said with his arms crossed. It's not even attacking us at all, have you noticed that? All it cares about is that ball. Takaro said. Yeah, that's weird. Naruto said. I think I got a plan. Kango, you land on that thing's head and poke it in the eye with your training katana. It might not hurt it, but it will be a good distraction for me to take that damn ball away from it. Takaro, you're going to have to stay near the platform. I'll throw it to you and you slam it down onto the platform. Alright, but before we try anything, let me try something. Takaro said. Takaro then charged at the beast, jumped at it as his fist glowed and yelled. Maken. Overblow. Takaro then punched the creature in the head, only to be sent flying by a green blast from impact. Takaro skidding next to his friends who stared at him with half-lidded eyes. Okay, we'll go with the plan. Takaro said with some pain in his voice. Let's go. Naruto shouted as he charged at the beast. Right now. Takaro and Kango shouted. Jackass tilde. Kango said as he sent energy to his legs and jumped straight to the monster. Once landing on its head, Kango stabbed the beast in the eye, and though it didn't do anything, but have the tip bounce off by the invisible armor, it still accomplished the desired effect, and gained the creature's attention, allowing Naruto to pry the giant metal ball away from the beast and bolted towards the platform. The monster roared, shaking its head, managing to get Kango off, and chased Naruto. Kango landed on the ground and watched them run off. You better not mess up, you fool. Kango shouted. Naruto ran like hell, leaving a dust cloud as he ran away, with the monster following. Naruto sensed that the beast's energy shift a bit, so he felt that it was about to teleport again. Golden Asura. Naruto summoned Golden Asura to grip the metal ball and threw it fast and far. The ball speeding towards Takaro. Takaro was on the platform, ready to grab the ball that was rocketing towards him, but suddenly the monster opened its mouth as its tongue shot out like a chameleon or a frog, and hit the ball, slowing its speed and shooting it back as the monster caught it with its claws and started gnawing on it. Oh goddammit! Kango shouted as Takaro and Naruto sighed with annoyance. The three regrouped and stared at the monster gnawing on the ball. I hate this thing. Kango shouted. He is pretty annoying. Naruto said with his hands to his hips. Takaro then started walking away. Where are you going? Naruto asked. Takaro stopped to a tree, grabbed it, and pulled it out from its roots. Suck it! Takaro shouted as he threw the tree. The tree sped towards the monster, but it passed by its head, catching its attention. Nice throw. Kango said with a dull look. Shut up. Takaro said as he regrouped with the other two. Suddenly the mega lizard made a small roar noise as it ran after the tree. The three boys watched as the lizard ran to the tree, took it in its mouth and ran back to the boys. It dropped the tree in front of them and sat down with its tongue out and wagging its tail. The three glanced back down to the tree, then looked back up at the lizard, waiting for them to throw the tree again. Naruto and Kango looked to Takaro, who just shrugged and walked to the tree, grabbing it and lifting it over his head. Ah, good lizard. Taker said, wiggling the tree, as the lizard got on all fours and knelt over panting with excitement. Go fetch. Takaro said as he threw the tree with the mega lizard chasing after it. Huh. Takaro said, staring at the beast. It's a dog. Kango was right, it's a guard dog. Naruto said with wide eyes. Good. So one plays with it while the other gets the ball. Kango said with his arms crossed. The mega lizard came back with the tree and put it back in front of Takaro. Good boy Patch. Takaro said with a grin. Patch? Kango questioned. Yeah, he looks like a patch. Takaro said as he grabbed the tree. Now go boy. Takaro exclaimed as he threw the tree with the lizard giving small bark-like roars, running after the tree. Naruto made his way to the ball, but when Patch saw it, he ran to the ball and grabbed it, biting it. Smart lizard. Kango said. I got an idea. Naruto said with a smirk. The three regrouped, while Patch chewed on the ball. After a while, Patch smelled something making him pull back and smell the scent. Oh Patch tilde. Patch turned to see Takaro holding a stick with some liquid on it. Lu tilde K. A yummy tree slathered in meat sauce and pork juice. Takaro said with a grin. Note to self. Get more meat sauce and pork juice. Naruto said with a smirk and arms crossed. Why do you have so much in that seal? Kango asked. You never know. Naruto said. You want it boy? Takaro asked. Patch had a grin and his tongue out as he ran towards Takaro with a wagging tail. Who wants the stick? Who wants the stick? Patch does. Patch wants the stick, don't he? Takaro said in one of those goo-goo voices, I don't know what they're called, but you know what I'm talking about. Patch panted as he started jumping up and down, shaking the earth, but the three young men were standing as if it was nothing. Go get it boy. Takaro shouted as he threw the tree far and fast. Patch followed after it at a fast speed. The three watched Patch run far, until he was a distance away. Go! Naruto shouted as the three scattered. Naruto charged at the metal ball, grabbed it and lifted it over his head as he ran towards the platform. Naruto had a serious glare, but then he heard stomping making him turn to see Patch chasing after him. Kango! Naruto shouted as he threw the ball fast at the shinobi in training. Patch opened his mouth as his tongue shot out, but the ball made it to Kango, who concentrated both element and Muko energy to his blunt katana and gave an upward swing that hit the ball, sending it flying into the air and then jumped away from the tongue. No one licks me, but Yuka-chan. Kango shouted. Disturbing. Naruto said as Patch's tongue came back into his mouth. Patch looked up to see his ball flying in the air, but then it started descending. Patch was about ready to teleport to the ball, but Naruto was prepared. Golden Asura. Naruto shouted as the golden spirit came from his body and flew toward Patch with his arms out towards the beast. Aura. Golden Asura shouted as his hands grabbed a hold of Patch's stomach. Yada. Naruto said with a steely gaze. And then, Golden Asura then started scratching Patch's stomach. Patch's eyes widened before he fell to his back with his tongue out panting as Golden Asura scratched his stomach. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who gets all the kisses? Naruto said with a grin and his arms crossed as Golden Asura scratched Patch's torso. Patch barked with delight. The ball came down, as Takaro then jumped into the air, grabbed the ball and landed onto the platform. We did it! Takaro cheered, but then the platform moved. The platform tilted, causing Takaro and metal ball to slide down, but Takaro let go of the ball and indented his fingers into the platform as he held onto it, until the ball went down the tube, going down the slide as the sound of some gears moved as then the entrance to the labyrinth opened up. The platform leaned back to its normal position, allowing Takaro to stand up and jump down. Naruto finished scratching Patch with Golden Asura, letting the spirit fade as Patch sat up with Kango making his way toward them. Well, we did it. Although couldn't we have just climbed into that tube and deal with the switch ourselves? Kango questioned. Maybe, but where's the fun in that? We're now friends with Patch here. Naruto said with a grin as scratched the mega lizard's leg with the lizard barking in agreement as his other leg did that happy stomping thing. Here you go boy. Takaro said with the metal ball over his head, threw it over Patch's head, causing the lizard to jump and take the ball in its mouth. Well, let's head in. Naruto said. We'll see you later Patch. Naruto said with a wave as he, Takaro and Kango walked toward the entrance, but they heard stomping as Naruto was pushed a bit making him turn to see Patch, whining with sad eyes. Sorry Patch, but we have to go in there. I need to find the shrine of Amaterasu. I know it may sound weird, but, I feel it calling to me, Datbeo. Naruto said. Patch whined, but he understood, giving a nod as his response. Good boy Patch. Naruto said as he petted the mega lizard. Hey, who's our favorite beast? Takaro said as he then started scratching Patch's stomach. Who's our favorite beast? Patch then fell on his back as he happy smiled with an open mouth and stuck his tongue out. That's right. Patch is. Patch is our favorite beast. Takaro said in a goo-goo voice as Naruto scratched Patch behind what he found to be his ear hole. Dude, this is pretty fucked up right here. Kango said with his arms crossed. After finishing giving Patch some attention, the three made their way over to the entrance. They stopped in front of the open entrance, only seeing darkness inside. The three stared at the darkness inside with strong, determined expressions and glares. They were prepared for anything. It smells like shit in there, Kango said. The three stared at the darkness within with their serious expression still on their faces, at least for the moment. PFF'd. Naruto horse-lipped as the three then burst out laughing with Naruto hunching over holding his stomach. Takaro had his hand on the top of his head and Kango still stood with his arms crossed, but laughed loud with them all the same. You ruined it, Naruto said with a grin. That I did, Kango said with his own grin. Suddenly there was the sound of a loud call-like sound, making them stare into the darkness with questioning looks. As they stared into the darkness, there was silence for a few moments. The three stood up straight, waiting for whatever made that noise to appear. Suddenly a flock of giant birds. Really big ones with giant drill beaks and wide eyes along with a third leg coming of its back and smaller orange ones with crooked beaks in a zigzag fashion and wide eyes flew out of the entrance. Naruto, Takaro and Kango stood still with their hardened expression back on their faces as the birds flew past them and into the sky. After what felt like hours, the birds flew out of the area and into the sky. The three young men turned and stared at the fleeing birds. You don't think they'll cause havoc, do you? Takaro asked. Nah. I didn't sense any predatory traits, so I think they're just herbivores. And even if I'm wrong, the girls can handle them, Naruto said. Naruto then cupped his chin with his index and thumb. Something up? Kango asked. Those larger ones. With the drill beaks. They seem familiar, Naruto said. Well, if it's not important now then shouldn't we just go right in? Takaro asked. Yeah, let's go, Naruto said as the three walked into the labyrinth. Patch stared at them until they faded into the darkness. The mega lizard laid down with its head resting against the floor as it whined, already missing its new friends. The three friends walked through the dark corridor, staying silent and calm, yet on guard for anything. Anything? Takaro asked. Nah. I know I've seen those birds before. I swear I should know this, Naruto said. It's still pretty surprising though. I don't think they're recorded anywhere in this world. I think we're the only people who have seen those birds for ages, Kango said. True, but I know I've seen them before, Naruto said. Man, it's getting real dark. I can barely see my own hand let alone what's ahead of us, Takaro said. Let me, Naruto said as he raised his hand as it then burst with golden flames. That's better, Takaro said. Suddenly darts shot at the three from the walls. The three quickly used techniques to counter them. Takaro used his element to send a shockwave from his body, Kango used his training sword to parry the darts and Naruto used Golden Asura to punch them away. Once that was done, Naruto took a few steps forward, where more darts came out, so he summoned Golden Asura again to send them flying with the spirit's punches. This corridor is light sensitive. These darts will keep shooting as long as my flames shine, Naruto said. That explains the darkness, Takaro said. At least there's not much to worry about, Kango said. True. Let's just sprint and block as many shots as we can, Naruto said. Sprint at your speed, or... Don't worry, I won't go at full speed, Naruto said. Ikus. Let's go. The three then dashed as they sprinted across the corridor, using their special techniques to send the darts flying. This seems too easy, Takaro said. True, Naruto said. You think they got a trap set up for us when, suddenly the floor below them opened three different hatches as they each had fallen down one. I knew it. Kango screamed all the way down. Takaro screamed slide down the passageway. On his way down he noticed a spike pit at the bottom. Ah hell no, Takaro shouted. He then punched a wall of the passageway, stopping his descent, and looked down at the spikes, panting out of habit from his heart racing a bit. Takaro then looked to the other wall across from him as he retracted his other fist, now glowing with element as he then sent a punch with energy flying from his fist as a brand new hole was created as the wall was destroyed. Takaro jumped through the hole as he then landed in a room with palm trees, patches of grass and the dirt was gray. What kind of room did I end up in? Takaro wondered to himself. Takaro then walked deeper into the room, scavenging for a way out. I hope the others are fine too, Takaro said. He then noticed a strange large blue fruit. Takaro walked over to it and stopped right in front of it. Holy crap. It looks like it'll take both hands to hold this thing, and that's not saying much. Takaro said. He then grabbed the fruit, but before pulling it out, he looked up to see more of them, only they were giant size. Holy crap. This is a small one. Takaro shouted as his wide anime eyes stared at the fruit in hand. He then heard some chomping making him look to see a giant rhinoceros chewing on the fruit. The rhinoceros had small wings on its back, and black coloring sound its eyes, with some black plates on its body. The rhinoceros turned to Takaro and saw that he had a fruit in hand. The rhinoceros got angry as it then roared, ready to attack Takaro. You're bullshitting me. How did my luck turn like this? Takaro said with some despair. Kango screamed as he slid down the passageway. Damn it. I knew this was coming. I knew it. Kango shouted with gritting teeth. He then saw a spit pit at the bottom. Oh fuck no, am I ready to die? I must marry Yuka-chan and give her my seed. Kango shouted as he slammed his blunt katana into the wall, skidding down the passageway until coming to a stop, with him mere inches from the spikes. Kango sighed with relief, before he hopped off the wall and balanced on a spike with only one finger. Thank goodness Tomiko-ne-chan used something like this in our training. Kango said as he focused element into his blunt katana and then slashed at one of the walls, destroying it, causing a large hole to form, and then he bounced off the spike, going right through the hole, and landed in a room with the ground being burnt sienna and having smooth curved line markings. What the hell am I? Kango questioned as he looked around. He then noticed a large lake with a waterfall pouring into it. There's water in here. Kango thought with blinking eyes. He then sensed something coming his way. Kango quickly turned around with his blunt katana ready, but what he saw made his eyes widen. Pouncing at him was a brown three-headed earless dog with strange wings on its back and black coloring around its eyes. Wait a minute, isn't that thing from Naruto's world? Kango thought with new shellshock. Naruto slid down the passageway with gritting teeth, as he noticed the spit pit. Naruto then bounced off the wall he was on and broke right through the one across from it, as he then landed in an enormous new corridor. Now where am I? Naruto wondered with his hands to his hips. I hope the guys survived if they had the same luck as me. Naruto said as his eyes glanced back at the hole. Although he had confidence that his friends were still alive. They were strong and clever like him. Suddenly Naruto heard stomping making him turn to see a giant ox. Suddenly he sensed oncoming danger, so he jumped away as a long tongue hit where he once stood. Naruto landed on a wall as he looked up to see a giant chameleon, but it wasn't any ordinary oversized chameleon. It had a snake for a tail, a sole left eye, small wings on its back, and two oddly shaped horns protruding from its head with its right one appearing to be snapped off and wrapped in bandages. Wait, I remember you. And I remember where I saw those giant birds from before. Naruto thought with shock as the ox charged at him, but he jumped away before it made impact, ending up hitting the wall. Naruto landed on the ground and looked up to them with serious eyes. So this is it. This is where pain summons you bastards from. Naruto said as the ox charged at him again, but Naruto jumped and summoned Golden Asura as he and the spirit slammed their palms into the ox's head, sending it back, as the blonde landed back onto the floor with Golden Asura levitating next to him. The snake-tailed chameleon shot its tongue at Naruto, but Golden Asura tightly gripped the tongue, keeping it in place. Naruto's hand then burst with fire and extended before dissipating as Habakiri was now in his hand. I have had this theory to test with my Maken, and I think you two are the perfect candidates. Naruto said as the ox got back up and the snake tail of the chameleon hissed loudly. Takaro sprinted with wide anime eyes as the rhino was charging at him. Damn this stupid thing. I once thought rhinos were cool, but now they suck. Takaro shouted as he continued to run from a roaring rhino. Takaro noticed a field of huge tall grass, so he ran into it, hoping to lose the rhino in it. Running into the tall grass, the rhino followed in, stomping into the field. Skidding to a halt, the rhino looked around for the orange-haired teen. The rhino snorted as it looked around, its ears wiggling as its head turned side to find the young teen entering on its territory. Takaro couldn't see much, because the grass was tall as hell, but he was able to sense the creature from afar. Okay, he doesn't have a heightened sense of smell, so I'm good. Takaro thought. The rhino then walked a bit away. Takaro waited until it was far enough away. After it was far off, Takaro sighed as he moved right through the grass. After a while, Takaro heard some stomping, making his eyes widen as he sensed the creature coming back. No way. He heard me. Takaro thought with new fear as he heard the beast roar as it charged his way. Takaro sprinted as the monster charged right through where he was once standing. His hearing is heightened. Takaro screamed as the rhinoceros roared and charged at Takaro. Takaro sprinted out of the field of tall grass with the rhino following. He panted as the rhino was catching up. Takaro growled as he spun around. Piss off. Takaro shouted as he sent a blast of energy through his fist at the rhino. Ken ha. Fist blade. Takaro screamed as he sent a blade of element at the rhino, making it explode upon contact. The rhino snorted as it shook its head as the dust from the explosion cleared. The rhino looked around to find the teen, but he found him nowhere. Hey asshole. The rhino looked up to see Takaro glaring at him as he dived down. Eat this. Kong overblow. Takaro slammed his fist into the rhino's horn, breaking right through it, tearing it off, and then slamming his fist into the rhino's forehead, sending a blast of energy right through the giant rhino, making its eyes bulge as it then exploded with green energy. Takaro jumped away from the beast as he stared at the now fried rhino, who fell on its side. Yeah. Not so tough now, huh? I feel bad for any one of your shorter brothers picking a fight with me. Takaro shouted with a grin and wink as he gripped his flexing bicep, referring to normal rhinos when he said shorter. However, new giant rhinos popped up as they made their way over to Takaro, obviously not happy with him. Ah, I said shorter. Takaro said with wide eyes and new fear. Why does this keep happening? Takaro screamed as he sprinted off, now being chased by a stampede of giant rhinos. Kango rolled away as the giant multi-headed dog pounced at him, then ran off as it chased after him. Suddenly two of the three-headed dog's head shot out, becoming two new dogs that pounced Kango. Kango gripped the handle of his blunt katana. The katana glowed green as then Kango quickly slashed faster than the eye could see, cutting up the dogs into 3 pieces each. Kango grinned, but suddenly the pieces of the dog became 6 new dogs that came at Kango. Kango screamed as the dogs slammed down to him, but he managed to sprint away before they attack. Kango had a worried expression with his teeth gritting. Damn it, I forgot they could multiple like that. I can't cut them, and so far that's what I'm good at. Kango thought with new worry. Kango thought over his options. If he couldn't cut them, he'd have to crush them, but he wasn't like Naruto and Takaro who could beat people until they bleed internally and externally. He was swift and fast and not so much physically strong. He has gotten a little physically stronger, and by little he's comparing his strength to his 2 best friends, but he couldn't reach their type of strength unless he used the Sasori seal. Kango narrowed his eyes as he jumped away from the dog's pounces, and when he landed he bit his thumb, pulled the collar of his undershirt and was ready to swipe the blood on the seal on his stomach, but then he remembered something from earlier. Nah. For the next few days, I'll not only count on my best friends to have my back, but I also intend to rely on my own strength and ingenuity to overcome any obstacle in my way. Naruto's voice rang in Takaru's head. Naruto chose to rely on his own strength. Despite also relying on him and Takaro for assistance if need be, but he was alone now, and he wants to be as big a man as Naruto, he needs to rely on more than just the Sasori seal. Kango frowned and narrowed his eyes as the giant dogs roared. Alright, think, what to do. Kango thought. The dogs attack, but Kango jumped on their heads at an impressive speed. Huh, so these are the benefits of having chakra and element. Kango thought as he was impressed by his own speed. Once jumping off the last dog head, another pounced at him, ready to bite him, but Kango sliced it in half. Kango landed onto the floor as he tried thinking of a way to beat the beasts. Come on, something Tomiko-sensei told you could help. Kango thought as the dog he sliced in 2 became 2 new dogs. Wait, I remember. Kango had followed Tomiko into the forest. This was right after the fight atop of Amanohara. So why? Suddenly a cloud of smoke from a smokescreen Tomiko tossed, surrounded him and when it faded, they were back in the dojo with Tomiko in her kunoichi uniform. Of course. Kango said. Yuka had told me your progress with the Sasori seal against Wabisuke. I'm impressed. Normally nobody could last that long on the first try. Tomiko said with a smile. So I'm that good, huh? Kango said with a new confident smirk and his chin resting between his extended index and thumb. I said normally. There are a few in the past who did slightly better than you, and one who had done better than you by a long shot. Tomiko said. Oh. Kango shined with a pout, but he noticed Tomiko's eyes became somber for a moment, but he chose not to bring it up out of respect for her. Seeing as you did well, I should teach you how to wield it properly. Tomiko said. You have the Sasori seal as well, Tomiko-sensei. Kango asked with shock. No, but my father does. He taught the last bearer of this seal before you. I happened to be there as his assistant, watching over the progress, possibly to teach the next bearer if my father wasn't around. I've learned the many ways it can be wielded, so I will be teaching all I know of the seal and its techniques. Tomiko explained. Sweet. So what's the first thing I should know? So far I know it's a dangerous tool that can poison the wielder if they use it for too long, so I need to build up my stamina, strength, power and endurance if I want to extend the usage. Kango said. Excellent work, but obviously there is more to it. You see, not only can you withstand elemental poisoning, but you are also a conduit of it. A conduit? Kango questioned. Yes. A way one of our past warriors, Kaichu Amato, used to his advantage, especially when he was surrounded by numerous opponents. Tomiko then made a ram seal. Concentrating the element you collected. Kango took in a deep breath in through his nose and brought his hands together in a ram seal. The dogs roared as they charged at him. You can accelerate them into your blood, turning them into poison. Kango's body glowed brightly with green energy as he absorbed the element from below his feet and within the rest of the area, then the energy's color changed into purple. Then focusing, you can send that energy straight to a certain point in your body, the tips of your fingers being the best option. Kango groaned as he shifted the direction of the element to his hands with the tip of his ram seal glowing brightly with purple energy. Then when the enemy comes near. The dogs rushed at Kango, pouncing at him once more. You must rush at them. Kango then sprinted to the dogs and stabbed it with the tip of his fingers, making the beast pulse with purple energy. And you send all the poison element you collected and transfer it right into your enemy. Kango then bounced of the dog and repeated the process with the other dogs, all 8 in total. Best part is you don't need to activate the seal in order to accomplish this. Kango landed onto the floor as the dogs howled with pain. With poisonous element coursing within them now, they'll instantly die from it if they don't know how to regulate it or if the poison you collected is at a critical level. Kango watched as the dogs' bodies then dehydrated, their bodies decreasing in mass as they had become so skinny that you could see their bones, their eyes bulging, their lips shrinking as their teeth and gums became shown more. The bodies fell to the floor and then deteriorated, disintegrating into ash and then vanishing completely. God damn. Kango said with wide eyes. He then flinched with one eye closed and his teeth gritting. Although the process is still painful. Your body will still feel the lingering pain left behind by the poison, but the technique is solid nonetheless. The only way the technique could fail is if someone regulated it at an expert level, or even dispel it by creating a counter current to shoot it out of their body. Although that would be a rare occurrence. Thank the kamis that I haven't met someone who could do either yet. Kango said as he held his stomach and hunched over. Kango took a deep breath in through his nose, calming his heart and easing the pain a bit by using his element, a technique Tomiko also taught him. Arigato, Tomiko-sensei. Kango said with a smile. Suddenly he heard growling making his eyes widen as he looked around to find more multi-headed dogs surrounding him and growling. Oh. Come on. Naruto stood proudly with Habakiri in his tight grip, smirking as he stared at the cut-up bodies of the giant ox and snake-tailed chameleon. Well, it worked. Naruto said with a smirk. Suddenly the sound of stomping was heard making him blink as he turned his head to see a giant bear behind him with a pair of large horns and spikes on its back. That's new. Naruto said as the bear swiped at him. Takaro screamed as the stampede of giant rhinos chased after the teen. I hate these things. Takaro thought with wide fearful eyes, but then he noticed a passageway up on a cliff. Takaro jumped up the structure, sprinting up the structure until he was atop it and in front of the passageway. Takaro panted out of habit, as he then turned around to look down at the rhinos roaring with disappointment that the teen got away. Takaro then started to laugh as he pointed at the rhinos below, then turned around and spanked his bottom in their direction, but then a piece of the edge of the cliff broke apart, almost letting Takaro fall down to the beasts below, but the reddish-haired teen managed to grab the new edge, saving himself from the fall. Takaro got up back onto the cliff and left straight into the passageway. Takaro ran down the passageway, thinking over where his two best friends are. Damn it. A barrier, killer vines, patch, light-activated darts, spike pits and giant rhinos. Who built this place? Takaro thought to himself as he entered a new room. Takaro looked to see two giant golden lion and cheetah statues behind one of those tipping scales. You know that thing that's a symbol for justice in court, usually held by those women with bandages over the eyes, only it was giant and golden. The hell? Takaro said with wide eyes. Takaro noticed a giant boulder atop the cheetah's head, while a smaller one was atop the lion's head. Takaro scratched the back of his head as he figured he was supposed to have them both on each platform of the scale, but he wasn't naive, he knew that there was more to this. Takaro walked around the room, looking for a clue to figure this puzzle out. Takaro felt the walls for anything. He looked to the statues, scanning them, but came up with nothing, but when he scanned the tipping scale, he found some inscription. It was in Japanese, but the dialect was different than what he was used to. Let's see, if you want to, peas. You have to use the scale. If you want to pass, you'll have to use the scale to balance the boulders. They have to match the same weight. But one's smaller than the other. Takaro shouted. Takaro looked up at the two boulders atop of the statues, heads and sighed. What would Naruto say right now? Yar yar days. Takaro said with a frown and his arms crossed. Takaro sat down as he thought over his dilemma. Let's see, thanks to movies, I know to think outside of the box. Takaro was thinking things over. After some time, Takaro thought of an ingenious idea. That's it. Takaro cheered with a grin. Takaro leapt up to the cheetah statue, grabbed the giant boulder and lifted it over his head as he then jumped back down to the ground. Takaro placed the boulder on the ground as he was brought his hand up in a chopping motion, ready to cut the boulder in half, but then he noticed some more inscription on the tipping scale. Keep in mind, both boulders need to be used on the tipping scale simultaneously, and the platform on in front of the cheetah must be the larger one exactly, or else face certain. Damn it. Takaro cursed. Takaro then thought of how to get out of this situation. I need them both to weigh the same, but the bigger one needs to be on the platform in front of the cheetah. So if I can't split it in half, then I need to add more weight to the one in front of the lion. Luckily I got super strength. Takaro thought. Takaro then put the boulder back atop the cheetah. He jumped far away from the scale as he then focused element to his legs as he jumped high up to the ceiling, cocking his fist back as he punched it, but not too hard, as then debris from above came down. Once landing onto the floor, Takaro looked around at the debris, spotting some big chunks of debris. Okay, now to determine which of these will, damn it, I stink at math. Well, actually I hate it. Naruto and Haruko kind of punched that stuff into my head. Takaro thought. Okay, let's see, use your knowledge of determining the size of breasts to your advantage. Takaro thought. Takaro scanned all the debris, using mathematics to know which to use. Okay, this large one seems enough. Takaro thought as he grabbed the debris and lifted it over his head. Takaro then jumped to the statues, landing on the cheetah statue and giving the larger boulder a small kick that made it start rolling. Takaro immediately hopped over to the smaller one and kicked it, but then he realized something. Oh crap. This debris will most likely fall or crack if I throw it over this one. I need to be on the boulder to be the platform for this thing. And combined with my weight, they won't match in weight. Takaro thought as the boulders started falling. Takaro turned back to the other debris. That one. Takaro spotted a smaller debris. Takaro dived down at it, throwing the debris he had in hands away. Damn it. I won't make it in time. Unless. Takaro then glowed red-violet as his speed increased, landing next to the debris, grabbing it then rocket up to the ceiling then bounced off it, as the boulders met the scale and then he landed on the smaller boulder as the scales were then trying to adjust. Come on, Takaro prayed as he sweated nervously. Then as the scales balanced, their weights matched. Suddenly the lion's mouth opened up. Takaro blinked as he stared at the opened mouth. That must be the way out. Please gods above, let this not lead to certain doom. Takaro thought as he then burst up to the mouth and entered the passageway as the mouth then closed. Yes. Takaro cheered with his fists up before he ran deeper into the passageway. I wonder how the others are doing. Piss off you mutts. Kango shouted as he sprinted away from the clan of multi-headed dogs. Kango then saw a large lake with a waterfall and decided, screw it, as he ran across the water and into the waterfall where a doorway led to a corridor. Thank you Tilda, dumb luck. Kango cheered as he ran deeper into the corridor until he was in a larger room. Kango walked forward, but stopped when he noticed someone sitting in the center of the room. It looked like samurai armor sitting lotus style with a naginata in hand. So, someone has finally come after all these eons. The armor spoke as its eyes glowed red. Oh great, how am I supposed to kill a demonic suit of armor? Kango complained. You could try, but it will be difficult. The armor said as it stood up with its naginata held firmly in its grip as it slammed the blunt end of his weapon onto the ground, shaking the entire room. The challenge of this room is to take one of those scrolls from atop behind me. Kango looked to see a semi-circle of scrolls on small pedestals against the wall with a closed doorway behind the living suit of armor. There were 9 scrolls in total. One opens the door behind me. You only have 3 chances to pick the correct one. 3 chances to pick between 9 scrolls. This challenge is based on pure luck. How the hell am I supposed to win this if I get no hint? Kango complained. It's not supposed to be fair. No one has ever passed this challenge and all end up dying. The armor said. Terrific. Kango said with dull eyes. Kango quickly dashed over, but the armor met his speed as the two then clashed, blunt sword against naginata blade. Kango then start to send a barrage of slashes that the armor met with no signs of slouching. Damn. This hunk of metal, or stone, whatever he is fast enough to match me even though he's a heavy guy and it's been eons since he's had a real opponent. Kango thought, but then he jumped back as a slash came at him he couldn't block, but it managed to nick him on his trapezius muscle, before he managed to get some distance. Not bad, but, the armor rocketed towards Kango, who sucked in some air, concentrated it into element and rocketed to the ceiling, bounced off towards the scrolls, but as the armor spun around, it was met with an energy blade that Kango sent. Kango landed onto the wall and grabbed the scroll at the right end. Please let this be it on the first try. Kango thought as he pulled, but the scroll was on a wire as the door he came from closed. Ah damn it. Kango mentally cursed, but then he heard something opening from the ceiling and when he looked up he saw a large golden Shinigami's head come from the ceiling. The fuck? Kango thought with wide eyes. He then leapt off the wall as the armor slammed down where he was on the wall, leaving no cracks or any damage at all on the wall. Kango bounced off the floor as the armor chased after him. Kango then noticed that one scroll was different from the others. That one is a bit off on its pedestal compared to the others. That has to be it. Kango thought, but then the armor appeared above him, ready to slash down his naginata. Kango quickly blocked it, but the tip of the blade stabbed into the skin of his forehead. Kango gritted his teeth, before he then surrounded himself in elemental energy and sent a shockwave from his body, but the armor stayed intact as they both landed on the ground. Excellent move, but I can absorb any kind of elemental energy. The armor said. Kango growled as chakra coursed through his fist. Then how about this? Kango shouted as he punched the armor with his chakra fist, sending it skidding back a bit. Chakra. I haven't felt that in a long time. The armor said as its eyes narrowed at Kango. You know about chakra. Then these energies were once together. Kango exclaimed. Yes they were. Long before the dispute. The armor said. Dispute? What dispute? Kango questioned. The armor charged at him, so Kango charged forward to meet the armor halfway. Kango then parried the naginata, then spun around the armor, sent both element and chakra to his legs and shot toward the scroll, rocketing toward the scroll. Once his feet slammed into the wall, digging deep into the wall, hurting him a bit, he grabbed the scroll and pulled it, but there was a string on it too. Oh you've got to be kidding me. Kango shouted. Kango then jumped back as the armor came at him and they clashed, parrying their weapons as they passed by each other. Suddenly the armor kicked off the air itself. Holy living shit. Kango thought with shock and gritted teeth. The armor swung his naginata at him. Kango quickly brought his training katana up, only managing to block where the blade met the staff, slowing its momentum down, as the blade cut into Kango's skin on the torso, causing a tear in his undershirt and his blood to come spurting out. Kango was then pushed toward the ground, causing the floor to crack and break apart with pieces of the floor flying and a small cloud of dust to form. Kango rolled back and was crouching with a hand on the floor. His new wound bled with some of his blood falling to the floor. He then looked up to see the Shinigami's mouth opened. I'm guessing that thing will kill me. Kango said as the armor landed on the floor. Yes it will. The armor said as it then pointed up to the golden Shinigami head. You have only one chance left and when you fail that will suck your soul into its mouth and your soul will be transported to the underworld. Madame Izanami will have your soul. Kango's eyes widened with shock at hearing this. My soul, will be hers. Yes. The armor spoke. My, Kango then smirked. HM. Kango chuckled, surprising the armor as it blinked its red eyes. That's going to be impossible. Kango said still smirking. Nani? The armor questioned. Kango then stood up and smirked at the living suit of armor. Because I already plan to give my soul away to another. I plan to give my soul to my future wife, Yuka Amato. Kango exclaimed with pure conviction. The armor just blinked at Kango's response. What sort of preposterous response is that? Doesn't he realize the extremity of this situation? The armor thought, thinking Kango is some sort of idiot or an ignorant person. I'm gonna finish it right now. Kango shouted as he then rocketed towards the armor, surprising it as they clashed, dashing to the other side of the room, but once they landed, they immediately turned on their heels and dashed back at each other. If anyone else was inside the room, at least any skilled ability users, they would be seeing two blurs leaping everywhere around the room, colliding with one another. He's even faster. But how? The armor then noticed training weights on the floor. Weights. He was wearing weights. I'm going to pass this. I will meet with my friends and we'll find that shrine together. Are you really so confident? You have one chance left. The armor responded. And that one chance is all I'll need. Kango exclaimed with a smirk. The two continued to clash, landing on every inch of the room. Kango grinned while the armor narrowed its eyes at him. They clashed once more and when they landed onto the ground, they spun on their heels. The armor quickly charged at Kango and sent a downward slash, but the young teen jumped back as the blade hit the floor. I win. Kango said with a grin, confusing the armored creature, but then Kango pulled on something. Wires wrapped around his fingers, as then all the scrolls were pulled at once, all of them attached to strings. The door he needed to advance through opened. Ha! See! Kango exclaimed, still grinning. The armored being turned toward the opened passageway with shocked wide red eyes while Kango walked over to his weights. How did you know that to open the door, you need to pull on all the scrolls? The armor asked as Kango put his weights back on. I didn't, but I figured if I had only one chance left, my best option was take them all. While we were hopping all over the room, I managed to wrap these wires around them. Kango said referring to the wires he had in his hands. But you'd need to jump at a specific pattern, didn't you? The armor questioned. The one who wins the battle in the end is the one who leads it. That is what Tomiko-sensei taught me. Kango said with a calm, serious expression. I see. The moment you charged at me, you have been playing me this whole time. My movements weren't my own. The armor said. It was a good fight. What's your name? Kango asked. The armor blinked its eyes in surprise. No one has ever asked for his name before, despite them all dying in the end. Jin. Well, it was nice to meet you, Jin. I had fun. Kango said with a smile. I as well. If you are a part of the generation that will take over this world, then I feel that the world truly is evolving in the right direction. Jin said. By the way, what dispute were you talking about? Kango asked. If you and your friends are headed toward the shrine of the sun goddess, then you'll find your answer there. Trust me. Jin said. Well, alright. Kango said as he then jogged towards the door. Later, Jin. Hope it's not another few eons until you find another opponent. Kango said as he left through the passageway. Jin watched as Kango ran through the doorway. HMPH. Jin said as he walked back to the center of the room and sat down, lotus position. Nice kid. Hope his brain won't explode from the revelation. Naruto walked toward a door after cutting down a whole horde of beasts, ranging from bears, oxen, bison, lizards, raptors, yes raptors, and a whole bunch of creatures that resembled demons or looked like amalgamations of other creatures or unidentified body parts. He then made it in front of a door. Naruto summoned Habakiri back into his seal, as he then pushed open the door and now was in a long passageway that was covered with yellow tiles with some sort of lettering on each of them. Naruto blinked his eyes as he stared at the passageway, and all the way at the other end was an open doorway. Naruto took a step forward, but he stepped on a tile, which pushed down a bit deeper into the floor, surprising Naruto as then all the tiles shifted, switched and spun to reveal new lettering. They're rearranging. Naruto thought. They all then stopped as all the numerous letters were jumbled. Naruto then looked down at the letters below him. They seemed different. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he tried to decipher them, but after 5 seconds, the tiles on the walls shifted and became prism-like spikes made out of the tiles. Damn. Guess I better work my brain into overdrive. Naruto thought. Naruto then stepped on another tile, then another. Currently he had to step on specific tiles with letters on them, moving his body around to keep himself from tripping from the odd foot-stepping pattern, but when he stepped on another tile, the ones on the walls shifted to longer spikes and short spikes with one nicking Naruto's cheek. Naruto had to think quickly. He was trying to find a right tile, with the letters looking familiar as he walked strangely. However, he couldn't find one on the floor, but he saw one that his gut told him to touch on the wall, so he pressed it, which caused new tiles on the ground to shift into proper ones. Wait, these are ancient Japanese numerals. This whole room is one big number system. And thank you Kage Bushin and Curious Mind. Naruto smirked. Naruto then started moving quickly, taking in every number quickly and successfully following the order. 39, 40, 41, 42, 40, but suddenly when he stepped on the tile, the spikes on the walls came closer and stabbed into Naruto's arms and the sides of his torso. The hell? I did it. However, when he lifted up his foot, he saw that the tile shifted into a different number, making his eyes widen. Naruto stepped on the proper tile, then went for the next, but more slowly as the tile then shifted into a different number. I see, so things are getting trickier. Naruto thought as he was about to press on the proper tile, but it shifted into a different numeral. Damn it. I'm almost out of time. Naruto thought as he only had 2 seconds left. Aura. Golden Asura came out and slammed its hand onto the proper tile, surprising Naruto as his spirit gave him a thumbs up. No way. Golden Asura noticed the tile when it changed into the right one. Naruto thought with shock, but then grinned. Alright. Time to breeze right through this. Naruto thought with a grin. Naruto and Golden Asura advanced through the trial, both pressing the correct tiles, with the spirit quickly pressing the correct ones after they shifted. 98, 99, Naruto finally pressed down on the final tile. 100. Naruto cheered as he and Golden Asura jumped through the doorway as the passageway closed in on itself. Whoa, lucky us. Naruto said. Aura. Golden Aura agreed as he disappeared into Naruto. Naruto then turned to see a large opening. Naruto walked over only to gawk at the beautiful land before him. It was vast. A green, luscious land with large hills, cliffs, structures and waterfalls, gorgeous trees and giant animals with giant birds flying by. Holy crap, this place is huge. Looks like something from an animated movie or an anime. Bet that would be weird to hear coming from me. Naruto said. He saw one of those birds with a zigzag beak fly by, so he jumped toward it and landed on its back making it caw. Naruto grabbed a hold of the bird as it increased speed. Naruto flew through the land, admiring the landscape. Damn. And this place is underground. There must be a substantial amount of element flowing within this place. Naruto said, but then he looked up to see a giant drill-beaked bird flying at him, ready to eat both him and the smaller bird, but Naruto summoned Golden Asura to send it flying. Aura. Golden Asura punched the bird straight in the beak, sending it flying with its beak having chips of it broken off and developed deep hairline fractures. The bird went flying so far that it could not be seen anymore. The bird Naruto was riding had wide eyes as it saw what the strange human being did to the larger bird. Listen birdie, I need your help to find my way out, okay? Naruto said to the bird with golden Asura looming over him, growling a bit as the spirit stared down at the bird. Somehow the bird understood, most likely because it felt Naruto's energy communicating to him somehow. Don't ask, as it started flying towards an exit for Naruto. Takaro walked down a passageway, sighing out of boredom. When will this long hallway end? Takaro whined with a frown. He then stopped as he saw a strangely shaped cave in front of him. What the hell? Takaro questioned. Is that mold or moss? Takaro gestured to the green around the cave. What kind of hole is this? And why am I talking to myself again? Ah, screw it. Takaro walked into the hole, but then stepped in some black gunk. Ew tilde, this shit's gross. Takaro exclaimed with his voice echoing throughout the cave. Suddenly there was an enormous roar that forced Takaro to cover his ears as the area shook. Think of roar that sounds like the four beasts from Toriko with it ending with the giant claws screech. What the hell was that? Takaro questioned with new fear. Suddenly the cave started to move, which made Takaro wail with new worry as he jumped out of the cave. He turned to see the cave moving away and disappearing. Takaro walked over to the edge and leaned over to see a sight. A giant monster, bigger than anything he's ever saw, bigger than the rhinos, bigger than Patch, hell probably bigger than Kurama. Its head was round with pointed ears, its body super muscular with giant muscular arms, and its bottom half looked like a millipede's body with a long scorpion tail. Takaro stared at the beast walking, or crawling in this case, away, while Takaro stared at the beast's retreating form. Holy crap, I hope I never see that thing again. Takaro thought as she shook with fear. He then noticed a doorway far across from him. Guess I'll jump. Takaro thought as he focused his energy to his legs and shot toward the doorway. However, when he was halfway there, darkness loomed over him. Takaro turned his head to see the beast had returned. The monster was right over him with its large hands with dirty yellow long sharp claws ready to grab him. Its mouth was wide with sharp teeth and its eyes were pure red. Oh my god. Takaro screamed with pure fear as he subconsciously activated blood pointer and sped faster toward the doorway, avoiding the monster, but when he landed, he sprinted at high speed, faster than the eye could see, charging down the pathway, breaking through doorways and walls of rooms, leaving new exits, all just to get as far away from the monster as possible. After running for what felt like forever, Takaro skidded to a halt, panting with his hands on his knees. Sweat came down his brow as his heart raced. He suddenly sensed a source of energy nearby, so he quickly got in his fighting stance and turned only to meet Kango in a nearby doorway with his hand on the grip of his training katana. Oh, thank God it's just you. Kango said as both he and Takaro got out of their fighting stances. Dude, what happened? You look like you've run a marathon. I just saw the biggest fucking monster ever. Takaro freaked out. Ow. A bit louder, why don't ya? Kango said as he rubbed his ears. What kind of monster was it? Like a giant animal or an amalgamation? It was like a combination of everything scary and creepy. I've seen some already messed up beasts, like a one-eyed squid with a crocodile mouth and body. You're going to have to be more specific. Kango said with half-lidded eyes. How would that work? Takaro questioned with a raised eyebrow. If you're talking about the squid delay, I have no fucking idea. Kango said with a shrug. Naruto walked down a passageway, checking out his phone. Pretty nice pics. Can't wait to show the others. Naruto thought with a smile. You know, it's like something out of a movie. The girls and the others from Shinobi World would love to hang there. Naruto thought as he put away the phone. Naruto then scratched his head as he wondered where he was. Golden Asura has perfect precise vision. I wonder about his hearing. Naruto then summoned Golden Asura to place its ear, wherever it is on its head, against the floor and listen in on everything below it. Aura. Golden Asura said, turning to Naruto as he pointed to the floor, gesturing to something below. Oh really? And it was bigger than Kurama. Takaro finished. That thing lives here. Kango shouted with pure shock and new worry. Dude, I hope I never see it again. Takaro said as he shook a little. The two then heard a noise. What the hell is that? Kango questioned. Sounds like a chant. Takaro said. The two then looked up as they heard it getting louder. Then the ceiling busted open. Aura! Aura! Golden Asura shouted as he punched right through the ceiling with Naruto in tow. Naruto landed onto the floor on one knee with an arm on his other leg with his head hanging while Golden Asura was above him looking ready for battle. Naruto looked up with a smirk as he then stood up with a hand on his hip as Golden Asura disappeared. "About time I find you jokers," Naruto said with his trademark grin. His best friends on the other hand looked at him dully. "You really like the dramatics," Kango said. "Always have. That's one of the traits that'll never change," Naruto said with a shrug and smiling. "Anyway, since we're together, how about we just have Golden Asura break through this place? It'd be easier," Kango said. "Because we don't know the layout of this place, so we might cause more damage than necessary," Naruto said. "Wait, if we don't know the layout, oh goddammit. How the fuck are we going to find that damn shrine?" Kango shouted. Suddenly Naruto punched Kango across the face. "Oi! Don't say that. If you're going to curse, keep it away from the same sentence as the shrine. I'm not going to tolerate anyone bad-mouthing or insulting anything related to a kami, especially Amaterasu, even if it wasn't meant in such a way," Naruto said with a serious yet stoic expression and tone as his hands were on his hips. "Sorry man. Ow," Kango said as he wiped some blood from the side of his lip. "Look, I know what Kango suggested sounds reckless, but I'd rather take that route than bump into what I saw," Takaro said. "What you saw?" Naruto questioned with a raised eyebrow. In a quiet, tranquil place, a woman in a white with red trimming uchikake sat on her knees by a small pond with its own small waterfall. She had long silk-like, pure black hair, and a crown that looked like a golden flame. Her uchikake was unique as well as there were openings on the arms where they meet the shoulders, red ribbons on the arms, and the sleeves on the forearm was long with red circles on them, a white with red flower outline designed obi tied in a large ribbon, over a long red cloth that was over the uchikake. She had golden earrings that were in the design of suns. She put her hands in the water, taking some into her hands, bringing the liquid to her ruby red lips and then drinking it. She paused in mid-drink as she brought the water down, sensing something. "He is near. A monster like that lives here?" Naruto questioned with shock. Legends say that the labyrinth is supposed to keep a monstrous beast within it, being a prison in the form of a maze. Although I guess it's not a minotaur, Kango said. "What should we name it?" Naruto asked. "The creature. Does it even need a name?" Kango questioned. "Well, it was big and ugly. Looked like a troll with bug legs and a stinger," Takaro said. "I got it. Big Lenny," Naruto said with a smile. "Big Lenny?" Kango questioned with a raised eyebrow. "It's perfect. You know, he actually kind of looked like a Lenny," Takaro said with a smile and his hand to his chin. "How does a monster look like a Lenny?" Kango questioned. "He just did," Takaro said with a shrug. "Well, fine, if we're naming monsters, I'm naming the Squidile Audrey," Kango said with a frown and his hands to his hips. "Actually, now that I think about it, she kind of did look like an Audrey," Kango said with his hand cupping his chin. "See, it can happen," Takaro shouted. "Shish, you guys hear that?" Naruto questioned. The three listened in as they heard stomping, making them turn to the passageway Takaro had come from to see giant animals and amalgamations of beasts coming their way. So what do we do? Fight? Kango asked, but he and Takaro noticed that Naruto wasn't with them. "Nigaru da yo!" Naruto screamed as he ran down the passageway opposite from the beasts. "Ah! A little heads up, you dick!" Takaro and Kango screamed as they followed after Naruto, running from the beasts chasing them. The three sprinted to get ahead of the pursuing beasts. "How did this happen?" Kango screamed. "I might have broken through some rooms to get as far away from Big Lenny as possible," Takaro said. "You ass!" Kango shouted. "If I live, I'm going to ask Yuka-chan to marry me." "No, you're not. Tomiko wouldn't let you until you're older," Naruto argued. "If I survive, I'm going to tell Haruko how I feel," Takaro screamed. "Knew it!" Naruto and Kango shouted. The three continued to run as they went out of the passageway, only to end up on a bridge that was destroyed at the halfway point. "Shit! We're dead!" Kango screamed. "We'll have to fight," Takaro shouted. Against that many freaks of nature. Hell no. Kango shouted back. Jump for it. Naruto ordered. What? Takaro and Kango shouted as they saw Naruto had a serious look on his face. Leap of faith. Trust me. Naruto said with confidence. Takaro and Kango looked to one another with worried expressions. Goddammit. The two screamed as the three of them jumped off the edge. Naruto immediately grabbed their arms and then spun in the air as he opened his mouth wide. Mouth cannon. Naruto shouted as a golden beam shot from his mouth, rocketing them towards the other end of the bridge where the monsters weren't. The three landed, rolling against the ground for a bit. We're alive, I'm going to propose to Yuka. Kango cheered to the heavens. No you're not. Naruto and Takaro said. Can't I have just a moment? Kango shouted with an annoyed and pissed anime expression. Suddenly they heard screeching, making them look up to see a giant back with 6 wings and 4 legs coming at them. Oh shit. The three then ran towards the doorway, but once they got there, Naruto turned around with a serious expression as they bat dived at him. Aura. Golden Asura came out and backhanded the bat across the face, sending it flying. Naruto then caught up to his friends as Golden Asura vanished. Damn, I hate this place. Kango said. Suddenly the floor opened up as the three fell and were now sliding down a slide. With all of my heart. Kango screamed with his voice echoing. The three then landed in a circle arena with a large moat of green water surrounding them. Where the hell are we now? Takaro questioned. Asking as if I had a clue. Kango said as he rubbed the top of his head. The three stood up as they looked around the area to see ugly statues that had human bodies, but monster heads. Hey look. Takaro pointed to a statue of a muscular being with 6 arms. An Asura. Reminds me of Golden Asura. Takaro said turning to his friends with a smile and eye smiles. Except my spirit is much more badass and handsome, just like moi. Naruto said with a smirk and arms crossed. A little self-centered, don't you think? Kango said with a smirk and half-lidded eyes. However he and Naruto noticed something swim behind Takaro. What? Takaro questioned. There's something right behind me, isn't there? Takaro asked with wide anime eyes and tiny pupils. Suddenly a giant monster came out of the moat and landed onto the arena. It was a one-eyed squid with a crocodile's mouth and body. It's Audrey. Kango screamed with new fear. Well you were right. With the squid parts being pink it does look like an Audrey. Naruto said. So we have to fight her? Takaro questioned. Not a problem. Kango said now being brave as he grabbed his blunt katana's handle, but then something jumped out of the moat behind him and Naruto making the three turn to see a giant shark with 4 red legs with black claws, red octopus tentacles coming from its body and multiple yellow with purple iris eyes. Now it's a problem. Kango said with wide, scared anime eyes as he shook. What do we even call that? Takaro screamed with a scared anime face. George. Naruto said, remaining calm. Seriously. Now you're just having fun with this. Kango shouted. The hell are you talking about? I mean come on, look at him. He looks like a George. Naruto said, still remaining calm. George and Audrey roared as they rushed at the three. Takaro ran away from the pincer attack while Kango jumped away, but Naruto stayed still and when they came close, he pushed them back with his bare hands. Skidding back, the amalgamated beasts roared as they sent their tentacles at Naruto. Suddenly Kango appeared next to Naruto, crouching over with his hands gripping his katana's hilt as the tentacles fell to the floor. You owe me. Kango said with a smirk. I could have done it. Naruto said with his own smirk. Suddenly the two amalgamated beasts grew new tentacles that attacked the two, but Naruto grabbed the tentacles with ease. The monsters tried to pull back their tentacles, but Naruto held onto them firmly. Takaro and Kango then pounced at the monsters, slamming themselves onto their heads and then jumping off, making the beasts' eyes bulge as Naruto then lift them up by the tentacles, slamming them together in the air and then the blonde spun in place, as fast as one of his Shibu Tatsumaki's death tornado, and then after a while, released the beasts, sending them flying into the room's walls. Well that was easy. Takaro said. We're making this place our bitch. Kango said with a grin and his fists up a bit. Audrey and George moved out of the walls and roared, but then they stopped and turned their heads toward a certain direction. This caught the three teens' attention as they were then surprised to see them leaping back into the moat. What was that? Takaro questioned with a bad feeling in his gut. They retreated. Something caught their attention. Kango said as he frowned, not liking the situation. Naruto sensed something coming. Something big. Heads up, guys. Something's coming. Naruto shouted. Suddenly bursting through the wall was a giant green hand. It's Big Lenny. Takaro screamed. That's Big Lenny. Kango screamed with new fear. Naruto stared at the enormous hand in pure shock. Oh my kami, we're even smaller than his thumb. And the element coming off him. It's, Naruto thought with pure fear. In the moat. Kango shouted as the three then ran toward the moat and jumped in. The three swam down to the floor to find a giant passageway. The three swam fast inside as the room they were just in collapsed with the passageway following. Naruto quickly summoned Golden Asura and punched right through the floor, causing the water to come down to the lower level, with the three diving in as the water then flooded down a new hallway. The three brought their heads up out of the streaming water to breathe. Holy crap, that was scary. Kango said. Oh shit. Takaro screamed as Naruto and Kango turned to see an edge that the water fell down from becoming a waterfall. The three then went down the waterfall towards a large abyss, but Naruto grabbed Takaro and Kango and kicked off the water as he then started kicking off the air. Dude, you can walk on air. Takaro exclaimed with shock. Not yet, but Himegami Imouto taught me a bit so I'm able to do this. Naruto said with a smile. Suddenly the entire wall filled with different passageways behind them, broke open as the head of Big Lenny came out roaring. Oh my god, he's hideous. Kango screamed. Big Lenny then extended his large muscular hand to grab the three. Move it, man. He's about to catch us. Kango shouted. Naruto then increased pace, as he was kicking off the air to get away from Big Lenny's hand, gaining on them. Naruto made it to a passageway across the abyss, as the three then ran deeper in. Luckily Big Lenny's hand couldn't reach them. Oh thank God. We're safe. Kango said as the three looked back. Suddenly Big Lenny jumped through the wall and was flying across the abyss. Fuck that. No we're not. Takaro screamed as they started to run again. Big Lenny grabbed the wall and then punched the passageway the teens went through. He's fisting his way in. Kango shouted. That's what she said. Takaro exclaimed on instinct. Fuck that joke. Naruto yelled. The three sent energy to their legs as they increased speed, trying to stay ahead of Big Lenny's gaining fist. The two continued to speed up, but they didn't notice they made it to the end of the passageway because of their fear of Big Lenny, so they fell down a great distance, until they slammed into the ground with had a layer of strange glowing gooey blue liquid. Ah, what is this? Kango questioned with disgust. Naruto took his face from the gooey liquid and spat out some of it. Ah, it reminds me of bat guano. Naruto said with disgust. Takaro then threw up with his vomit mixing into the goo. Sick man. Kango said. Or possibly in animal shit. You think me puking my guts in disgust is the sick thing right now? Takaro argued. Yes. Because now it's mixed with the crap. Kango shouted. Suddenly the wall behind them broke open as Bug Lenny came right through and came falling down toward the three. Oh shit. Run. Takaro screamed as the three quickly got up and ran with energy surrounding them as it gave them a boost of speed, enough to get away in time from being squished, but as Big Lenny landed, he produced a large wave from the blue gooey liquid, which caught the teens and sent them farther away. Once the wave finished, the three were on their hands and knees, coughing. Ah, I think it went up my nose. Takaro said with a nasal voice. Big Lenny roared as the three teens looked up at him. What now? Kango asked. Naruto looked around to find the place was filled with pillars that seemed similar to ancient Rome architecture. Behind the pillars. Naruto said. The three then vanished before Big Lenny looked to them. The beast crawled its way around the dark room looking for the three. The three remained silent as they hid behind a pillar. However, when Naruto breathed out, Big Lenny's ear twitched as it then backhanded the pillar they were hiding behind. He heard my breathing. Naruto thought with pure shock evident on his face. Shit. Kango shouted as they ran. Big Lenny sent a punch coming their way. Scatter jump. Naruto shouted. The three quickly separated and jumped at the last minute as Big Lenny's fist created a shockwave, that sent them flying far, but the force was so powerful it cracked their bones and harmed their flesh and nerves. The three rolled on the slimy ground, groaning as their bodies ached. Damn it. We got no choice. We got to fight. Naruto thought with narrowed eyes. Summon me. Kurama shouted as Big Lenny turned his eyes on him, most likely sensing that he was the strongest. Naruto growled as he unsealed the armor Kenway gave him, but Big Lenny came after him, so Naruto quickly summoned Kurama, who roared and bit Big Lenny's hand, with the monster waving its hand to be rid of the tailed beast. Damn, even Kurama is considered a small fry to this guy. Naruto thought. Big Lenny actually flicked Kurama away, but the fox spirit shot a Bijudama at Big Lenny, hitting him right in the right eye, but it didn't scream. Instead it opened its mouth and shot a concentrated beam of element that completely consumed Kurama until he was gone. Kurama. Naruto screamed as then the armor came off and he rocketed over to Big Lenny, slamming into its torso and sending a barrage of punches with Golden Asura, who had all 6 arms, and Naruto grew 2 pairs of mechanical arms to increase the number of fists and power behind the attack. Despite Big Lenny feeling it brought no harm, as the amalgamation just slammed its hand on Naruto, crushing him and Golden Asura, then the monster flicked the blonde away, where he broke right through numerous pillars and slammed into a wall, creating an enormous crater from the force he was flicked away with. Naruto. Takaro and Kango screamed as they saw their friend all bloodied and unconscious. Takaro and Kango roared as they summoned their hidden inner power, Takaru's blood pointer and Kengo's Sasori seal, and then went on the attack. Kango sent countless blades of energy to Big Lenny's face, blinding the giant monster's eyesight. Takaro and Kango charged forward, jumped onto the monster and ran up its body. Takaru's fists glowed and Kengo's blade glowed as well. The two sent barrages at the monster, but it felt nothing as its skin glowed. Big Lenny roared, sending a shockwave that sent the two flying. Takaro rolled against the gooey floor, then dashed right back. Big Lenny was ready to slam its hand onto Takaro, but Kango landed on Big Lenny's face and stabbed his sword into his eye, making it roar as Takaro then jumped up high, landing on the back of Big Lenny's hand and ran up his arm and jumped at the beast's left pectoral. Double Kong Overblow, blood duo. Takaro screamed as he slammed both his fists into Big Lenny's chest, sending his element straight into Big Lenny's heart. Big Lenny roared, sending a shockwave that sent the two flying. Kango flipped in the air and rocketed down using his element to surround himself and attack Big Lenny, but suddenly the monster vanished in a flash of green light, shocking Kango, who dived straight into Takaro. The two groaned as they got back up, only to see Big Lenny ready to kill them with a punch. Oh shit. The two thought. Haruko, I love you. I wish I could have told you. Takaro thought as his life flashed before his eyes. Yuka-chan, I wish I could have married you. Started a family with you. Grow old with you. Even if I regret not achieving it, I am still happy I got the chance to be with you. Kango thought as he remembered all the times he spent with Yuka. Big Lenny's fist was coming closer, but suddenly Naruto appeared in front of his friends with anger written on his face. Golden Asura. Naruto screamed as his spirit appeared with 6 arms and charged at the fist with its own fists cocked back. Aura. Golden Asura screamed a final war cry as it met the fist, getting slammed into it, having not effect at all on the beast as the fist came closer. Takaro and Kango managed to jump away, but Naruto was not so lucky. With the attack delivered to Golden Asura, Naruto's body went into shock, with his eyes wide and his teeth gritted. The only thought he had was the pain he felt. Then Big Lenny's fist slammed into him, going right through the floor, creating a hole that Naruto fell into, all bloodied and broken, and fading into the darkness below. Naruto. Takaro and Kango screamed, but then a shadow loomed over them as they looked up to see Big Lenny was already aiming to smack them into the ground. Oh. Takaro started. Shit. Kango finished. Naruto was falling into the darkness. His body useless as it was now destroyed. Damn, so this is really it. Naruto thought with the light in his eyes fading. All 'cause I wanted to see a shrine. Then what? Guess I put too much hope into something I don't understand. Naruto's life then flashed before his eyes. Man, a kid should not have gone through all that. I wish I had a kid. I would have loved that kid so much. Probably would have spoiled it too. In some ways. I'll never have the chance to have one. Although, the mother, I almost forgot about the girls, my family. The people I met here, also precious to me. So precious that, family is the best word to describe them. Naruto then remembered all the times he had with them all. The good, the bad. But they were all memories of those he considered more precious than life itself. He also remembered his old friends. Hey, I really wish I could have seen the gang from Konoha one more time. I never got to say goodbye. My friends. My team. Ba-chan, Aro-sen Gigi, Kaka-sensei, Uruka-sensei, Sasuke-tem, Sakura-chan. Wish I could have said goodbye to them all. Naruto then started feeling remorse for both sides of his life. The life of Konoha that started him up and the life of Tenbi that developed him further. Both homes had made him the mature young man he is. And he wished he had done more for both of them. So many regrets. I wish I could have given Hinata a date to make her happy. I wish I could have told Sakura the truth about it being me that day and how much I love her. I wish I could have shown Tsunade Ba-chan and Jiraiya-ji-chan how important they are to me. I wish I could have saved Nagato and Obito. I wish I could have met Karen. I wish I could have stopped Akatsuki. I wish I could have told Sasuke the truth, he deserved to know. I wish I could have saved Itachi and the other Jinchuriki. I wish I could have made the girls I fell for happy by marrying them and giving them children. They would have loved that. I wish I could have seen my sisters get married. They would have been so happy on that day and I want to be a part of it. I wish the same with Takaro and Kango. I'm so sorry I dragged you both into this. I'm sorry Wabisuke, I wish I could have stopped Mayonaka Moon Shikai and freed you along with your friends. But most of all, I wish that I could have spent a little more time with my family. Both of them. And cooked them all a meal, that would have made me so happy. Naruto smiled one last time. I'm sorry, Yatsuno Oba-chan, Kurama, Tu-san, Ka-chan, Ashura, you all placed so much trust in me and I failed. I'm sorry. I hope in some way, I could atone, in the afterlife. Below the blonde appeared a swirling black whirlpool. And Uzumaki's fate, is to be consumed by a whirlpool, now ain't that ironic? That was Naruto's last thought as he was sucked into the whirlpool. Everything was so dark. So cold. This was probably hell. Naruto then appeared in a new room, slamming against a floor. He managed to open his eyes and see the stone ceiling. He looked to both sides to see stone walls with moss and vines over it. Naruto's head then looked to behind him, only for his eyes to widen. There, was the golden shrine of Amaterasu. It was small, tall with a round top and in it was a statue of the goddess in her special kimono with a crown on her head, a smile on her face, a sun behind her and flowers to her feet, real ones that somehow stayed fresh like they had been recently picked. Naruto stared at the statue for what felt like an eternity. He then developed a new drive. He flipped to his front side and started crawling over towards the shrine. He ignored the pain of his broken body, refusing to let it stop him. He continued on with one thought in mind. I won't let. He crawled closer. It all end like this. He was nearing the statue. I refuse. All he needed was to reach over and touch it. To die with one more regret. Naruto reached his hand over and his index finally touched the statue of the goddess, hand. I did it. Naruto thought with a weak, yet proud and happy grin. Naruto then went limp as he laid there in front of the statue, defeated. The statue then glowed golden. Naruto. A light glowed from the shrine as it then consumed Naruto and the room. Naruto lightly breathed as he rested his head against something, soft. Naruto slowly opened his eyes as he saw he was in a gold and white area and he was laying on what looked like a cloud. A cloud. Naruto quickly got up on his hands and knees. He looked around to see a green mountain with a waterfall going down to a lake with golden koi in it. Naruto stood up and walked over to the lake and knelt down in front of it as he stared at the koi. Naruto put in his bloodied hand into the water as his hand then glowed golden with the koi coming and eating away at some skin on his hand before swimming away as the hand stopped glowing. Naruto pulled back his hand as he saw it was all healed and any damaged and dead skin was gone, replaced with fresh new skin. Naruto traced a finger from his other hand over his new rejuvenated one, so feel it was completely fresh like a newborn's skin. You may jump in if you like. Naruto got up and turned only for his eyes to widen as he saw a beautiful sight. A woman. She had long silk-like, pure black hair and golden eyes, her lips ruby red with lipstick. Her face slim, with no signs of imperfections whatsoever. A crown atop her head that looked like a golden flame. Her uchikake was unique as well as there were openings on the arms where they meet the shoulders, red ribbons on the arms, and the sleeves on the forearm was long with red circles on them, a white with red flower outline designed obi tied in a large ribbon, over a long red cloth that was over the uchikake. She is perfect. She is beautiful. She is a goddess. You are, who are you? Naruto asked. Guess. The woman said. I can't, no one I can think of, that's human. The goddess questioned rhetorically with a gentle smile. Naruto's eyes widened with pure shock. Amaterasu. Naruto said breathlessly. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, smiled. No way, I can't believe how amazing this is. I'm in front of the Amaterasu. The goddess of sun. Naruto then gasped. I'm meeting the goddess of the sun and I look like bloody trash. Oh goddammit. Oops. Naruto quickly got on his knees and slammed his head against the soft cloud as he bowed to her. I'm sorry I insulted you. Naruto said. It's okay. You haven't really insulted me. Trust me. Amaterasu said with a smile and dismissive wave. Then who did I insult? Naruto asked. Don't worry about it. Rise Naruto. Amaterasu said. Naruto did as he was told and stood up. Come here. Amaterasu beckoned. Naruto walked up to Amaterasu until he was right in front of her. Amaterasu stared at him with soft, loving eyes as she then hugged him, shocking him. It feels so nice, to hold a child of mine once again. Amaterasu said with a smile. Naruto's eyes widened immensely. Child, wait. Naruto pulled back. But my parents are Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, aren't they? Naruto questioned. Oh my, I should be more specific. Amaterasu said with an embarrassed smile and rubbing the back of her head. What I mean is, you are Minato and Kushina's child, but you are also my descendant. Amaterasu said with a smile. Naruto lost the ability to breathe for a second as he stared at the goddess with wide eyes. Naruto lost his ability to speak. Amaterasu's smile widened as she got a bit teary-eyed and nodded in confirmation. Naruto stayed silent for a few moments before looking to his clean, fresh hand. I'm a demigod. My demigod. Amaterasu then hugged him again. My champion. I don't believe this, Naruto said as he then remembered something he said when he was young. Don't underestimate me. I'm going to be the best there is. There's more to me than you could ever believe. Naruto never thought such words would be true. He never really believed in himself to begin with. Over time he started to believe in his own strength. He believed he could become better than what he ever could hope. He always said he wanted to be Hokage. That he was going to surpass everyone and be the greatest, but he never believed he would, and yet now here he is being hugged by the goddess of the sun and learning of his lineage of being a direct descendant of the goddess. Her descendant. He is a descendant of the sun goddess. He is a demigod. Naruto then started shedding tears as he hugged her back. Never in his life did he ever believe he had value. He thought his existence was a mistake and that he was a flaw in reality, but now, he knew his existence truly did have worth to it. Oh my darling child. Don't cry. Amaterasu said in a motherly tone. Don't worry, these tears, are tears of joy. I've never been happier, to know that my life, it does deserve to exist. Naruto thought with his eyes shedding countless tears, his lip quivered with his teeth slightly gritted. Arigato. Naruto thanked the goddess. His goddess. Amaterasu pulled back and held the sides of his cheeks. You've felt so much pain, but my dear child, you've done greater than many to not let your heart break. Amaterasu said with a smile. But it did break, and it hurt. Naruto said as he gripped his heart. But you never let the pieces fall. You held them together for so long and even when you were ready to let them fall, you found the strength to continue holding them, despite the new cuts. You survived Naruto. Through all the hate that I would have surrendered to as well. I am proud of you, and I know many are as well. Your parents included. Amaterasu said. My parents. Naruto looked to the floor. You did not fail them, Naruto. And you never will. Amaterasu said as she picked up his head and stared into his eyes. I can see it just by looking into your eyes. You will accomplish many feats. You are right. This is the end of just a chapter in your life. Now, we can begin anew. Amaterasu said with a smile. Anew? Naruto questioned. Naruto. It's time to unlock your true power. My legacy will now finally continue with you. Amaterasu said as she then leaned over and kissed Naruto's forehead. Suddenly Naruto's eyes widened. He felt so warm. Really warm. Like. There is a sun inside him. Suddenly his body glowed golden. He's feeling it. This power. It's growing inside him. This heat, this light, this warmth. Naruto smiled as he shined as bright as a sun. This just felt so right. He was grateful. Amaterasu separated as she stared at Naruto glow for a few more moments with a bright smile on his face and his eyes closed as he enjoyed the feeling of the warmth within himself. Amaterasu smiled as she saw an image of another behind Naruto. A young dark-haired young man. He smiles just like you did, Ninigi. Amaterasu thought with a warm smile as she remembered her grandson, the first emperor of Japan. And I'm not bullshitting you folks. This is part of the history of the Shinto religion, which is the religion of where the Japanese gods like Amaterasu, Izanagi, Izanami, Susanoo and Tsukuyomi reside in. If I'm adding the deities of Japan into my story, I have to do research on them, before I text them into the paper. I researched them like Jesus, last year. I am dedicated to giving them the rightful image they deserve. I hope I do well by them, despite being Catholic. The light then faded as Naruto opened his eyes to see that his wounds were sealed and the blood gone. His body completely healed, and he even felt stronger than before. Beyond strong. He felt higher. If that made sense. I know you'll do great with this power. Amaterasu said. What did you do? Naruto asked. I just added a bit of my power to your system and your god blood activated. Now you are officially a demigod. Although this doesn't guarantee much. If you wish to be truly strong, you must train. No problem there. I'm already a nut with that. Naruto said with a smile as he rubbed the back of his head. Then I don't have much to worry about. Amaterasu said with a smile and eye smiles. Man, I can't wait to show Takaro and Kango. Naruto's eyes then widened. Oh my Kami. Amaterasu looked to him as if he is literally addressing her. Takaro and Kango, they are in the room with your body. I'm afraid the Great Terror finished them and sent them here. Amaterasu said. You mean Naruto couldn't finish his sentence as he started to tear up. They managed to survive with their powers acting as cocoon, but they are barely alive. Amaterasu added. I have to go. I need to save them. Naruto shouted as he ran off. Naruto, you do realize you're in heaven. You're not on my earth. Amaterasu said. I don't care. I'll find a way back. Naruto shouted as he continued to run. That's my demigod. Amaterasu said with a smile. I could just bring them here, you know. Naruto skidded to a halt as he turned around to her. Amaterasu brought her hand up as it glowed and a beaten pair of Takaro and Kango light on the clouds. Takaro. Kango. Naruto shouted as he ran over to them. Naruto placed his hand on their backs and started transferring his energy to them. Their wounds were healing and their bodies glowing. Suddenly they opened their eyes and sat up. You're alive. Naruto shouted with a smile. Naruto. You're alive. Takaro cheered as he hugged him. Oh, thank God. Kango said. Literally. Naruto said, pointing to Amaterasu, making his friends turn to the smiling sun goddess. Who's the woman? Kango questioned. Oi. Naruto smacked the back of Kengo's head. Show some respect. That's the sun goddess, Amaterasu. Naruto shouted as the goddess giggled at Naruto's behavior towards his friend's action. Wait, what? Takaro questioned. The two looked back to the goddess who still smiled at them. Their faces slowly shift to shock as their jaws were dropping off the hinges. Holy crap. Takaro and Kango screamed. They then got on their knees and bowed, constantly slamming their heads on the clouds as they bowed over and over again. Gomen, 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 Gomen. Amaterasu giggled at their behaviors. It's quite alright. Amaterasu said. We're sorry for being perverts. Takaro said. Please don't beat our souls to death. Kango exclaimed as he slammed his hands together and prayed for forgiveness, to the goddess in front of him. Calm down. I am not here to deliver punishment in any form. Besides, being perverted is natural. I don't favor it, but trust me, it's natural. Amaterasu said with a hand up. Really? Oh, praise her. Kango said with a bow, making Amaterasu giggle. So, are we dead? Takaro asked with fear. You were going to die, but I brought you here for Naruto who healed you. Amaterasu said with a smile. So we're alive? Kango questioned, before he and Takaro grinned happily. I can still marry Yuka-chan. Kango cheered as he and Takaro hugged and cried tears of joy. Naruto smiled at his friends. Naruto. Naruto looked up to Amaterasu. I must warn you, your power will attract new enemies. Ones who are demigods like you. Takaro and Kengo's eyes widened as they separated. Demigod? Takaro questioned. The two looked to Naruto. Apparently I'm her descendant. Naruto said with a bashful smile and rubbing the back of his head and have closed shy eyes. Takaro and Kengo stared at Naruto, then their eyes blinked as their eyes became anime style and their teeth gritted in disbelief. Nani? Takaro and Kengo screamed. I know, crazy right? Naruto said, chuckling a bit, still in disbelief as well. Don't laugh about this. This is crazy. Kengo shouted. Yeah, I know. Naruto said, but then he remembered. Oh, sorry for the interruption, my goddess. Naruto said as he bowed to Amaterasu with remorse and respect. It's all right. But remember, this power will attract many. Amaterasu said. That goes without saying. Takaro muttered as he rubbed the back of his head. Demigods will come for a challenge. Sadly, combat is kind of in a demigod's blood. Gods like myself have the urge and pride of conflict, but thankfully eons of meditation helped calm my instincts, so now I can control them. Although for you, that's a different story. I hear ya. I'm already itching to kick the crap out of Big Lenny. Naruto said. Amaterasu giggled. Big Lenny. A funny name to give the Great Terror. Amaterasu said. Question. Naruto said with a raised hand. Yes. Wabisuke, he gave me the map that led to your shrine. Naruto said, shocking Takaro and Kengo. He said, when he grabbed the tiny piece of the Orochi statue, which his kind could handle them without difficulty of being consumed by the power they give. Does that mean? Naruto looked up to Amaterasu as she nodded. Yes. Wabisuke Hayato is a descendant of my brother, Susanoo. Naruto was shocked, while Kengo and Takaru's jaws dropped. No wonder we couldn't beat him. Kengo shouted to the heavens, funny since he is in heaven, with his hands to the sides of his head. Good. Naruto said, surprising Amaterasu and shocking his friends. It wouldn't be fun fighting him if we weren't on the same level. Naruto said with a proud smile as he pumped his fist and gripped his bicep. Amaterasu smiled while Takaro and Kengo moaned and fell to the cloudy surface. The trials you'll face will be grand. More dangerous than you ever thought before. You'll have to become strong when they come back. Even a human will have the power to kill you, so be careful, Naruto. Amaterasu said with a stern tone and serious expression, but then it changed to a concerned motherly tone. I do not wish to lose you. Okasan. Naruto spoke softly with his head hanging a bit and his eyes shadowed, catching Amaterasu off guard from his choice of response. Naruto then looked up with a wide promising smile. You won't have to worry. I'm your champion after all. Naruto said with a smile. I won't lose my life to anyone, and even if I do, then I'll just come back from the dead and give that person an ass beating 10 times worse than what I originally intended. I promise that on my soul. Naruto said as his smile widened into a bright toothy grin with a thumbs up. Amaterasu's eyes widened as she stared at Naruto, while Takaro and Kengo smiled, but then smiled. She nodded as she then floated to him and hugged him. Kengo and Takaro stood up and stared at the sweet moment. Who would have thought, right? Takaro whispered. Yeah, this just seemed so much to handle. Kengo said, but then he remembered something. Excuse, Amaterasu-sama. Kango said. Amaterasu and Naruto separated and looked to Yusui. I apologize for interrupting, but there's this living suit of armor that I confronted earlier named Jin. He told me both our worlds were once one, Shinobi and Maken, but there was a dispute that caused them to be separated. Do you know what that's about? Kango asked. Amaterasu sighed. It's true. They were once one, but, it's my fault along with, Tsukuyomi. Amaterasu said. Huh? Takaro questioned. No way. So it is true. Kango said. Naruto stared at his goddess with shock. Suddenly 3 beautiful female angels flew by and saw 3 mortal teenage boys with their sun goddess. One had long silk black hair, another brunette hair that stopped at her upper back with hair framing the sides of her face and going down to the front of the bottom of her breasts, and the third had long blonde hair that stopped above her bottom with hair framing the sides of her face with the ends curling around in a spiral motion. The last has hair like Mount Lady from My Hero Academia. What in the brunette one started, but the black-haired one pressed her finger to her fellow angel's lip and shushed her as she then led the 2 down to a cloud as they hid behind it and eavesdropped on the conversation. Naruto, Takaro and Kango stayed silent as they waited for Amaterasu to continue. Do any of you know the story behind the death of Ukemochi? Amaterasu asked. Yeah, she was the goddess of food. Takaro said. Yes. My brother, Tsukuyomi, who was my lover at the time, had killed her out of disgust, because of how she produced food. Ever since he took away her life, I could never face him. During this time, he was so angry he decided to take it out on the mortals. You see, our energies resided inside every living being at the time. We both agreed to share our power, but after our separation, he wanted to have our powers split from every mortal as well. Chakra and element. Kango said. Yes. Amaterasu said with a nod. Element is my power given to the mortals and chakra is his. He went to the extreme and demanded they both be split apart. I refused. He was so angry that he decided to take it by force, but I wouldn't let him. I was ready to fight, but in fear of a fight, the other gods had warned our father, Izanagi. Our father put an end to things before it even began. After hearing our dispute, our father had come to a decision. Since neither of us were willing to back down on the subject, seeing as we are very stubborn, our father decided to side with Tsukuyomi, but instead of taking the power away from the mortals, half of the planet's population was split in half, along with the planet. Using a special technique, our father created 2 separate dimensions that worked as 2 separate sides of a mirror. Now there resided 2 Earths, somehow in the same place, as they reside in different dimensions. The world that the both of you, Kango and Takaro, live in, which I rule over with element being the main power, and Naruto's world, where Tsukuyomi rules since the mortal's main power there is his chakra. This is the true history of both worlds, once one, now 2 separate halves. Amaterasu explained. The 3 teens stared at her in shock. Oh my god. Takaro said with shock. Naruto stayed silent throughout the whole explanation. He wanted to hear the whole explanation before he responded. I don't regret being angry with my brother. I just regret not going against my father's final word. I just listened like a rich man's little girl to never speak back to her father. I never wanted people to separate. For loved ones to say goodbye to one another. For the children, our children, to be separated like this. Amaterasu said with tears being shed as her hand was over her mouth. You've been hurting. Naruto spoke, gaining their attention. For so long, since this started, you've been hurting. Your heart's been breaking and you can't even stand it. Naruto said with his head hanging and his bangs shadowing his eyes. Since it's that important, Naruto then looked up with new determined eyes, full on new conviction. I'm going to bring both worlds together again. Naruto shouted with pure conviction. Amaterasu gasped with shock, while Takaro and Kengo's jaws drop. He's going to what? The 3 hiding angels thought with shocked anime faces with their mouth agape anime style. Whoa dude, are you serious about this? Takaro questioned with a nervous expression. Why yeah, I mean, Naruto, this is a decision made by the gods themselves. We have no right to say or do anything about it. Kango reasoned. I don't care. Naruto shouted, making the 2 teen and the spying angels flinch. It's making goddess cry. Her heart's been breaking for years, being in pain for too long and I can't stand it. I don't want to see the woman who bred life to my ancestors years ago, who awakened me, who gave me the power to save my best friend's life to cry anymore. Amaterasu stared at him with surprise. So that's why, I'm going to put things the way they're supposed to be. I'm going to bring both worlds together by myself if I have to. And if Tsukuyomi or any other god stand in my way, then I'll punch them right in the face. Believe it. Naruto shouted with pure determination written all over his face as his fist extended. Ah tilde tilde. Takaro and Kango exclaimed as they became anime-style figures with their hands up, their bodies leaning back and anime-shocked faces with anime-gaped mouths. He said it tilde tilde tilde. The angels thought as they were in the same position as Takaro and Kango. Amaterasu looked at Naruto with pure shock and teary eyes. She then hung her head as her body and fist shook. That is the stupidest thing anyone has ever said. And you'd be a fool to go along with it. Amaterasu said, hiding her face. I don't care. I don't want to see Goddess cry, so I'm going to bring them both together, so you can be happy again. Naruto said with pure conviction. Amaterasu shook more. You idiot. Amaterasu whispered as the back of her hair started to rise. Suddenly she shot forward faster than any of their eyes, especially the angels, could see as she was suddenly hugging Naruto tightly. Arigato. Amaterasu said as her tears fell. Naruto hugged her back without a moment of hesitation. Takaro and Kango, along with the angels, stared at them with wide eyes, before the teenage male smiled. Man, you are such an ass. Takaro said. Definitely asking for a death wish, aren't you, you idiot? Kango said with a shrug. Naruto separated from his goddess as he looked to his friends. Well then, I guess it looks like we'll be going along for the ride as well. Takaro said with a smile. To depths of hell and back. That's how we roll, am I right? Kango said with a smile and his fist to his hips. Naruto stared at them with wide eyes before he smiled. You guys. Naruto then walked up to them as they brought up their hands, Naruto with both and Takaro and Kango with one, and then Naruto gripped one of their hands each. I couldn't have asked for better friends. Naruto said with a toothy grin. You mean brothers? Takaro said with a smile. Someone has to look out for you after all. Kango said with a smirk. Naruto smiled widely, happy to have them both in his life. Sitting atop of a mountain, staring down at the scene was a man sitting cross-legged. He had long hair tied in a ponytail, and a beard. His eyes were thin, and his face slim. He wore armor. The torso armor that was black, with gold trimming on the top half of his chest, black armored collar above it with gold outline stop it, and purple samurai plates at the sides of the torso armor, covering his ribs. He had black forearm armor with gold trimming with armor for the backhands that had much gold with some black on it and gold lining, and had red rope tying it to his hands securely. Black with gold trimming tassets, tied securely to his waist with red rope, a white high collar white cape with the inside of it purple closed in front with a thin red rope, and samurai should guards on them that were black plated with golden lining and gold above the top plate and behind each one. A small black obi tied around his waist with purple cloth tied under it that covered the waist area from the sides and back, leaving the front uncovered. Underneath his torso armor is a black with white trimming kimono shirt, and he wore black pants and long black laceless boots that extended up to his knees. Tied around his waist, over the obi and cloth was a white cloth that held his twin katana with the Suka Ito braided from white and black material. He's a unique young man. And he has some good friends with him too. The man said as he then stroked his beard. I think I should shave. Amaterasu smiled at the three, with teary eyes of joy and a wide smile. Naruto. I believe it is time to send you and your friends back. Amaterasu said, alerting Naruto. Will I ever see you again? Naruto asked, turning to her with hopeful eyes. Of course. You are my descendant. Don't go thinking this will be a one-time visit while you're still alive. Amaterasu said with a wink. Naruto grinned at her answer. Amaterasu's eyes then softened. Naruto, thank you. You don't have to thank me. I'm just happy to serve my goddess. Naruto said with a smile as he then bowed, but then he remembered something. Naruto stood up with sadness written all over his face. What's wrong? Amaterasu asked. Kurama, Naruto said. Takaro and Kengo's eyes widened a bit, before they frowned with sadness as well. Oh, allow me. Amaterasu said as with a wave of her hand, a small nine-tailed fox appeared floating beside her. What the? Kurama spoke with shock. Kurama. You're alive again. Naruto exclaimed with joy as the small Kurama landed on his shoulder. And you're cute too. Bite me. Kurama said with an annoyed, dull look as Naruto grinned a toothy grin and chuckled. Kurama then looked up as he stared at the woman in front of them with shock. What in the? Oh yeah, this is Amaterasu, the sun goddess. Apparently I'm her descendant and now she awakened my demigod powers. Naruto explained with a smile. Kurama glanced to Naruto, then Amaterasu, then back to Naruto, then he turned his head to Takaro and Kango, who shrugged, then he turned his head back to Naruto. Okay, what? Naruto laughed, rubbing the back of his head while Amaterasu giggled with a hand over her mouth. Well, better head out. There are some girls who would go crazy without us, Ttebeo. Naruto said with a smile, yet felt some sadness that he'll have to leave. I know. I'll be watching your growth from here. Amaterasu said with a smile. Arigato. Naruto said as he hugged Amaterasu, who hugged him back. Amaterasu smiled, happy to have a child like Naruto. Oh, before you three leave, take a bath in the lake over there. Amaterasu said as she separated from Naruto. It completely rejuvenates someone and rids of any mess from any being, and from the mess you three experience, you'll need it. Especially with all the blood you have drenched in you and your clothing. I believe it'll do some good. Got it. Arigato. Naruto said with his trademark grin and a thumbs up. Up above, Big Lenny was leaving. His deed done as the pests he was after were all dead. However, as he was crawling away he suddenly stopped as he sensed three signatures of life behind him. He turned his head to see the three teen back up and glaring at him, all clean as if he never hurt any of them. We got a bone to pick with you. Naruto said with a low tone. Big Lenny roared as he saw the three were alive and charged right at them. Golden Asura. Naruto said as his spirit appeared and flew straight at Big Lenny at a high speed with his fist cocked back, and then he slammed his fist right between the monster's eyes. Aura. Golden Asura cried as he sent Big Lenny skidding back, with his head retracted back. Big Lenny rubbed the spot where Golden Asura punched with his index finger, but then blasts and blades of energy came at him, smashing into his face, scarring it with cuts and some bruises. Big Lenny roared with anger as he lifted his fists up high and slammed them into the ground, causing a shockwave that forced the three to leap high into the air as the gooey liquid below made grand waves from the shockwave. The three teens looked down at Big Lenny, who slammed his hands down to the ground as he roared at them, creating an even bigger shockwave. Yaro. Naruto said as four Rasenshurikens appeared behind him and shot forward at Big Lenny's face, creating a giant ball, grinding into his face with a screeching sound being made. Big Lenny roared as the sphere was shredded apart from the roar, as Big Lenny's face was now being healed from his energy. Suddenly Big Lenny's hands stretched towards the three, but Golden Asura grabbed Kango and Takaro away, as Naruto kicked the air, all three avoiding the giant monster's grip. Naruto concentrated Bijudamas to his finger as he shot numerous bullets at Big Lenny's face, blinding him as he roared. Takaro landed on Big Lenny's arm and ran up it as he cocked his fists back as Naruto cocked his own fists back as he dived down at Big Lenny. Takaro jumped at Big Lenny's head as Naruto closed in as well, and then they slammed their fists into his head, Takaro from diagonal up right and Naruto diagonal down left. Double Kong overblow. Suin Heigashi Suibaku Ken. Twin fiery hydrogen bomb fists. Both their fists exploded with power, Takaru's being a large amount of green element and Naruto's being a golden fiery blast. Big Lenny's faces smooshed a bit as both sides were being crushed by the power behind the two teens' attacks. Kango, down below, slashed a giant pillar from its bottom, quickly bit his thumb and smear his blood on his Sasori seal faster than the eye could see as he then burst with energy, grabbed the pillar from the bottom and rocketed to Big Lenny. Big Lenny's mouth was wide open from being hit from both sides courtesy of Takaro and Naruto, as then Kango burst with more energy as he threw the pillar right through Big Lenny's mouth, having it shot right through the back of his head. Big Lenny screamed as a shockwave was sent from its body. Big Lenny then sent his hands at the three, but Kango rocketed up higher, Takaro bounced off Big Lenny's hand, and Naruto just spun around the hands and landed onto the ground with Takaro and Kango appearing next to the blonde. Big Lenny roared as it suddenly sent a punch to them. Aura. Golden Asura screamed as he slammed his fist into Big Lenny's, causing a shockwave as the giant fist stopped, but then a concentrated current of fire blasted out the back of Big Lenny's shoulder. Big Lenny roared as it reeled back its fist and then started sending blurring barrage of punches. Aura. Golden Asura screamed as he grew into giant size, now including legs. Granted still dwarfed compared to Big Lenny, but as he sent his own barrage of punches, meeting every punch sent by the giant, creating numerous countless shockwaves from each punch. Takaro roared as his body burst with red-violet energy as he was in blood pointer mode, while Kango gripped the handle of his sword and then the two sent red-violet blasts and purple blades of energy came at Big Lenny, hitting him all over, leaving burn marks, bruises and cuts all over his body. Big Lenny then roared with anger, as its stinger came from behind and charged at Naruto. Naruto! Kango shouted. Watch out! Takaro shouted as well. Naruto looked to see the stinger coming down on him, but suddenly two giant muscular arms grabbed the stinger before it could stab at him. One arm was green with hand armor and bands tightly wrapped around the elbow. The other was black with bandages wrapped around the forearm and hand with the fingers being bare. Naruto turned to see the green arm was coming out of Takaro and the black was from Kango. Is that ours? Takaro questioned with shock. Big Lenny growled with anger as it tried to take its stinger back. Kango and Takaro's spirit's grips were loosening. Concentrate. Controlling a spirit depends on mental power and will. Just think of putting this bastard in his place with all your passion. Naruto shouted. That I can do. Kango shouted as then a giant spirit blade come out from Kango and charged at Big Lenny, slashing off Big Lenny's stinger making him scream. Oh yes. Instinct bitch. Kango cheered with a grin. Big Lenny growled with his sharp teeth bare, feeling rage at his stinger being cut off. Big Lenny's torso then glowed, which alerted the three teens, as the giant then opened his mouth as a concentrated beam of energy was building up in his body. Big Lenny shot an enormous beam at the three. Damn it. I can't do anything. If I block this attack, then the fist will squish us. Naruto thought with gritting teeth. No, 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 no. Takaro thought as he then yelled as his spirit's arm shot out as its hand made contact with the beam. Naruto and Kango were shocked to see that the beam wasn't making it past the spirit's hand. Naruto turned to Takaro to see his energy was rising. His spirit is absorbing the beam. Naruto thought with slightly wide eyes. Once Big Lenny's beam finished, he was surprised to see that the three teens were just fine. Suddenly Takaro's chest expanded as he opened his own mouth and shot a concentrated beam of energy of his own out of his mouth and go right through Big Lenny's right eye, making the monster cry in pain. Through that attack, brought a moment of relapse to Big Lenny so his punches became a bit slower, which was all the time Naruto needed as Golden Asura quickly opened one of his hands as a Bijudama formed and then it shot towards Big Lenny, but right before it made contact, the Bijudama sprouted 4 new blades that made it look like a Rasen Bijudama Shuriken. Naruto spoke as the jutsu impacted with Big Lenny's head, causing a grand explosion making the monster roar at the new intense pain as it relapsed, moving back from the impact. Here we go. Naruto shouted as Golden Asura was then covered in armor, the same Naruto can summon to surround his body. Golden Asura gave a roar as he rocketed over towards Big Lenny, with a pair of thrusters and a pair of giant fan propellers on his back to increase speed as then, Golden Asura slammed his armored fist into Big Lenny's gut. Aura. Golden Asura shouted as he started slamming a blinding barrage of punches at Big Lenny's gut, but then his armored fists burst with fire as it dealt more damage. Aura rao 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 ra. Golden Asura then finished by slamming both fists into Big Lenny's gut at once and then a blast of fire went right through Big Lenny's torso, making its eyes widened as the amalgamation was sent skidding back. Big Lenny held its stomach as it glared towards the trio and giant armored spirit, but then Golden Asura brought up its hand holding 5 fingers. 5 seconds. Golden Asura said with Naruto's voice, confusing the others. 4 seconds. Golden Asura said retracting its thumb. 3 seconds. Golden Asura then turned around, its back facing Big Lenny, enraging the beast as it growled with bare teeth. 2 seconds. Golden Asura spoke as it started walking back to its master. Big Lenny was about to charge, but then a blue light illuminated the room, causing Big Lenny, Takaro and Kango to look up. 1 second. Their eyes widened as they saw about the great terror, were countless, upon countless of Recensuricans hovering over him. 0. Was all that was said last as the Recensuricans dived down towards Big Lenny, consuming him as they hit every part of his body and then exploded into a gargantuan sphere of wind and energy with a deafening sound that forced Takaro and Kango to cover their ears to try and block out the noise. Golden Asura stopped in front of its master as the armor vanished. Golden Asura's even gotten faster. Tossing those Recensuricans while meeting that creep's punches was no easy feat. Especially since I had to finish creating them telepathically with my energy. That goodness that's possible with my goddess element thrown into the mix of my body. Naruto thought with a grinning smirk. Suddenly a hand burst from the sphere of energy, shocking the others. It was Big Lenny's giant green hand, only it had spikes protruding from the back of the forearms. Followed by it was the rest of Big Lenny, but he had changed. Coming out of the sphere, Big Lenny looked to be even bigger. He had long, with thick spikes coming from the back of his arms and his back in general, with even bigger and thicker giant spikes coming from the back of its elbows and shoulders, along with a pair coming out the sides of the shoulders, and he has 2 pair of horns, one long and sticking out the back of its scalp and another pair out the sides of his head or ram horns. Plus he regrew his stringer which now glowed blood red. Safe to say Big Lenny looks terrifying. Big Lenny roared as it quickly charged at Golden Asura, faster than light as it slammed into Golden Asura, making the spirit's eyes widen before it vanished, leaving Naruto paralyzed from the impact and injury to his soul. Scatter! Kango screamed as he and Takaro jumped away, but Naruto was still paralyzed with his eyes completely white as he was then swatted Naruto away, causing him to fly away with new blood coming off his body. Naruto! Takaro screamed as he landed. He then glared at Big Lenny, who breathed like a wild beast in search of blood. You bastard! Takaro screamed as he then activated Blood Pointer and charged at Big Lenny. Big Lenny turned toward Takaro and sent a blinding barrage of punches at the teen. Once it was done said its barrage, it looked to see that Takaro wasn't there, confusing him. Takaro had managed to break through the floor, and punched back up to the surface to be behind Big Lenny. He climbed up his spiky back with superhuman jumps, until he was on his shoulder. Ken-ha! Fist blade Takaro screamed as he sent a blade of energy from his fist that went straight into Big Lenny's ear, making the monster scream as it grabbed its ear in pain. Takaro quickly jumped over to Big Lenny's chest and grabbed hold of it as he then sent what he felt was chakra to his feet as he then dashed over to the left side of his chest, and then grabbed hold with one hand as he then retracted his other back as it glowed red-violet. Eat this! Blood Pointer! Kong Overblow! Takaro screamed as he slammed his fist into Big Lenny's chest, causing a shot of energy to strike at the monster's heart like an arrow. Big Lenny roared in pain as it sent a shockwave of energy from its body, forcing Takaro to flip away, heading towards the floor. Big Lenny sent his stinger at Takaro, but as the red-haired teen was near the ground, he concentrated and summoned his spirit to slam its hand into the ground, pushing off it as Takaro then changed directions, narrowly avoiding the stinger as it stabbed into the gooey floor and melted away it like his stinger was made of lava. Holy crap! Thank God I didn't get hit by that. Takaro thought, but then Big Lenny's hand smacked him away, sending him rolling towards Kango. Once he stopped, Takaro groaned in pain while Kango looked down to him before glaring at Big Lenny who roared and went for a charge. No one hits my friends, but me when they're acting stupid. Kango said as he tightly gripped his glowing training katana. Well you know, and also their girlfriends. Kango thought as Big Lenny closed in at a dashing speed, but Kango saw it all as he then sent a quick, clean and powerful slash that managed to slice off Big Lenny's right arm, shocking the beast. Let's see you punch that fast with only one arm now. Kango said with a victorious smirk. Suddenly a new arm burst out from where his own got severed as then 6 new arms grew from his body as he stared bloodthirsty like at Kango. Oh shit. Kango said. Big Lenny roared as he went for a pounce, but suddenly he was pulled back, surprising Kango as Takaro started getting up, rubbing his head. The two wondered what was happening and so did Big Lenny. From behind the monster, was a slightly bloodied Naruto who glared at the beast with gritting teeth, grabbing hold of Big Lenny's tail. No one hurts my friends, but me and the girls when they act stupid. Naruto shouted. Big Lenny tried to pull itself out of Naruto's grip, but the blonde remained strong. Naruto growled as his fingers pierced through the tail's strong exoskeleton. Naruto tried to pull Big Lenny away, but the creature fought against his might with his own. Naruto tried to hang on, but his muscles were straining as he was losing his grip. Damn it. Naruto thought as he sweated a bit. Suddenly a flash of Amaterasu smiling at him came to his mind. A demigod. My champion. I know you'll do great with this power. Her words echoed in his head as he envisioned her smiling face. Yeah, I can't fail now. I still have to show you what I can do with this power. Naruto thought as his gritting teeth etched into a grin. I'll show you that your faith wasn't misplaced. Naruto screamed as he pulled, managing to pull Big Lenny back from his friends. Big Lenny's eyes widened as he turned his head to stare at Naruto in disbelief. Naruto started slow, but he is managing to spin in place. Big Lenny started to slide around the floor in a circular motion. Oh yeah, we're going Mario beats Bowser N64 style up in here. No freaking way. Kango said with wide eyes as he and Takaro started in shock. Naruto growled through his gritting teeth. You gave me this power. You awoke my true power so I could do these feats. To not just defend myself, but protect my friends, my family even better. You already put your trust in me long ago. Naruto thought as Big Lenny was now started to ascend as he was getting airborne, making Takaro and Kengo's jaws drop. I swear. Naruto thought as he started spinning faster and faster. Through every fiber of my being. Naruto was now spinning so fast that he and the behemoth he was lifting up became a twister. Naruto's veins bulged on his forehead as his muscles twitched and the side of his lip bled. I won't ever let you down. My goddess. Naruto screamed as he then released his hold, sending Big Lenny right through the ceiling. Not done. Golden Asura. Naruto screamed as his spirit, now rocketing up high in gargantuan size as it grew 2 extra pair of arms. Things are about to heavy. Aura. Golden Asura screamed as he sent all 6 fists into Big Lenny's body. Aura rao 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 ra. Takaro and Kango watched in amazement as the giant spirit was punching the amalgamated monster at an imaginable speed. Aura rao 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 ra. Big Lenny's eyes were wide and blank as he was being lifted up high by the countless punches delivered by the beast of a spirit. Orao rao 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 ra. Golden Asura pulled back all its fists as a now battered, bloodied and bruised Big Lenny hovered above with wide white eyes and his mouth wide open, his body trembling from the pain. Suddenly all of Golden Asura's fists burst with golden flames. Naruto glared heatedly at the battered monster along with his spirit. I'll smash you. Naruto shouted as his eyes shined red. Naruto and Golden Asura then gave a simultaneous war cry as Golden Asura brought his golden flaming fists towards Big Lenny. Aura tilde tilde tilde. It was nighttime in Konoha, and right now Sakura came into her room from having a nice shower, drying her hair as she was dressed in a long black shirt. She sat on her bed, sighing as she placed the towel down. She then looked to the nightstand next to her bed that had the scroll that held the crystal ball and Naruto's old jacket, lying next to Team 7's old picture. She stared at Naruto's face, and despite the look he had, gritting his teeth as he glared holes into Sasuke, she couldn't help but blush as she thought about the man that young boy has become. Maybe I should check before I get to bed. Sakura said as she grabbed the scroll, unsealed the crystal ball and jacket as she then went through the hand signs and placed her palms over the crystal ball. The ball shined a bit as the center became golden. Sakura leaned her head in closer, but then she saw fire coming from 6 fists and shooting towards her vision as the ball glowed golden, making her jump back in shock as she fell off her bed. Out tilde. Once all 6 fists connected with Big Lenny, an explosion of gold fire occurred, creating a plume of golden flames that consumed Big Lenny and shot right through the labyrinth all the way to the sky. A few moments before that, the girls of Maken were heading for a safe spot to rest for the night. Cha-Cha, Kimi and Azuki had their arms crossed as the first two pouted and the last had an annoyed anime glare. You three should really cool down. Furin said. But it's not fair Tilda. Cha-Cha whined. Yeah. Naruto-kun worked really hard on that house and the villagers just came and kicked us out. Kimi added. The three of us have every right to be angry. Naruto built that house. Don't forget Takaro and Yusui-kun. Yuka added with a smile. And he put his clan's symbol on it. That manor is owned by the Uzumaki clan. They have no right to tell us to leave. Any other day I'd go with this and keep my thoughts to myself, but this time they just got balls to demand something that they have no right in. Azuki shouted. I'm mad too. Honestly I didn't want to leave either, but our job is to keep the peace. These people feel threatened because of our presence. The longer we stay on this island the worse things will get. Furin said. Especially since we are technically trespassing. We are fugitives against Kamigari. Haruko added. I still call bullshit. Azuki said. Quit wasting your breath. Heimgami said. What? Azuki questioned as she lightly glared at Heimgami. The minute Fox Baka returns we'll head back. Once he hears what happened, he'll throw a fit, scaring the villagers and we'll be back in that house in no time. Kodama elaborated. That's what I'm worried about. Naruto's so passionate that he'll be ready to break some skulls for what happened. Furin said with a frown. True, but you got to admit, that passion is what drives us crazy. Cha-Cha said as she giggled with a grin as she, Kimi, Azuki, Furin, Aki and Minori had blushes on their faces as they had dreamy faces on and sighed dreamily. Got to love that. Minori said with a smile and her fists to her hips. Suddenly they all stopped as they saw a golden plume of fire in the distance. Anyone wanna bet that's Naruto? Yuruchi spoke up. The golden plume could be seen throughout the island and could be sensed by ability users, even from afar. This was a beacon of a new age to come. And only a few know it. Takaro and Kango stared up at the destroyed ceiling that had numerous holes through the ceiling. Their eyes were wide as they then looked to their blonde friend who just had his hands in his pockets, staring at his work as Golden Asura vanish. The blonde then looked away and said. Yuzuna. Get lost. Sakura stared at the blonde shinobi through her crystal ball with a blush on her cheeks as she stared at him with shining eyes. To this day, no matter how many times she sees Naruto in this world, he never ceases to amaze her at how mature and strong he's become. And just by the choices of words he chooses. The old Naruto would have said, well hell, she couldn't think of what he would say in a situation like this, but it wouldn't be too coolly tell a monster to get lost, like he wasn't even worth time to begin with. That's something, maybe Sasuke would say. Maybe Sasuke. But for some reason it sounded so much more different when Naruto said it. Like it's so wrong, yet so right. Like it just oozes strength, patience and an aura of macho, but also finality. Okay, maybe Sasuke is like that, minus the macho, but for some reason it felt so much more interesting when Naruto did it. Dare she say, arousing. He's already so much stronger. And the way he holds himself like it wasn't all that special. Sakura's blush deepened. If we meet again. Suddenly a new fantasy came to Sakura's mind, as she imagined Naruto holding one shoulder with one hand and pulling down the collar of her long PJ shirt down, pushing it past her shoulder to reveal skin. You just can't keep your nose out of my business anymore, can you? Her fantasy of Naruto softly spoke as she leaned in closer, dying for his lips while he leaned in and moved to undress her. Sakura then squealed as her face turned red as she placed her hands over her cheeks and shook her head side to side. I shouldn't be thinking these lewd thoughts. What am I? A pervert? Sakura exclaimed with a small smile. Experience says yes. Sakura. Get to bed. Mebuki shouted from the other room, knocking Sakura out of her stupor state and clear her throat. Well, I think he's doing just fine. Sakura said to herself as she resealed the crystal ball and jacket. Sakura then got under her covers and looked to her team picture, staring at a young Naruto's face as she then smiled and blushed. Good night, Naruto. Naruto stayed still, silent as his hands remained in his pockets. Naruto blinked his eyes as he stared at the sky through the holes he made. There's that feeling again, Naruto said to himself. Kango scratched the top of his head as he and Takaro stared at the holes. Well, let's go, Naruto said as he started walking away. Yeah, Takaro said as he and Kango followed. So that's the strength of a demigod, Kango said as he looked to the ceiling. Well, a demigod who's just awakened his power. I still got a long road ahead of me, Naruto said. Oh joy. The three had been causally walking through room after room, not hitting any traps or monsters that came their way so far. It's like the labyrinth just wants to be done with them already. Well, look at this, Naruto said as the three stopped to see the beasts in one room staring at them. You think they've been waiting for some trouble? Naruto questioned rhetorically with a smirk as the three got ready, but suddenly giant chakra rods appeared in the air, causing the monsters to scatter with fear, but a multi-headed dog got hit by them, with one going through each head's snout, before vanishing in a puff of smoke. The three teens stared with surprise before they relaxed. So that's how they're summoned. And against their will too, Naruto said with a glare and frown. Looks like they don't like it at all. Then again, if I was forced against my will to fight powerful shinobi I would be freaked too, Takaro said. This place is just a prison for all of Pain's summonings. So long as he still has that one corpse puppet, this place is just a living hell for them, Naruto said. Well, nothing we can do, so let's just keep going, Kango said with his hands behind his head as the three continued on for the exit. Once exiting, they noticed Patch was still there playing with his giant steel ball, but then he barked as he went up to the three as they then petted him. I didn't expect us to finish up this fast, Kango said as he petted Patch's head. Same here. We better head back home then. The girls will be so surprised, Naruto said with a smile. As the three were heading out, they turned as Patch followed, whining like a sad dog. Sorry Patch, but we need to get back to our friends, Takaro said with a frown, but then Patch licked him leaving one side covered in saliva. Look buddy, since I broke the barrier, we can come here any time to play with you. So keep patient alright. We'll come back as soon as possible, understand? Naruto said with a smile as Patch then barked in agreement. Good boy, Naruto said with a smile as he scratched the bottom of Patch's neck. The three finally made it to home. We're home, Naruto called out, but there was no answer. That's funny. I don't sense anyone, Takaro said. Yuka-chan tilde, I have returned tilde, Kango shouted as he ran upstairs. Something's not right, Takaro said. I'll say, Naruto said as a thought came to mind. Oi, Cha-cha-chan, I'm back. Let's have sex, Naruto shouted, as Takaro blushed red at the sentence being shouted out. After a few moments of waiting there was still no response. Something is wrong, Takaro said as he and Naruto had wide eyes. Kango screamed alerting the two as they glared and got into fighting stance. Kango quickly sprinted down the stairs. Yuka-chan's not here. None of the girls are. I've checked every room, Kango shouted with distress. This isn't good, Takaro said with new worry. Naruto remained silent as he had a serious gaze and frown. She's out there. My Yuka-chan is out there. I can sense her. I'm coming my love, Kango shouted as he ran toward the door, but Naruto used his zoom arm method, dislocating his bones, to reach toward Kango, grabbing his shoulder as he pulled him back in a quick pace as his bones relocated with one another. We don't even know where they are, Naruto said. Maybe you don't but I do. I can feel Yuka-chan's heart with my own. It's a sixth sense we have. I know where she is through this, Kango exclaimed as he punched his left pectoral. Naruto and Takaro stared at Kango. You know, despite how weird and completely nonsensical that sounded, I actually believe him, Takaro said. Naruto just shrugged as he gestured for Kango to lead. Kango quickly ran out the door, but stopped, which confused Naruto and Takaro as they walked out to see a man standing across from them. He was a normal man with black hair, some fuzz on his chin, and wore a white buttoned shirt and black pants. Can we help you? Takaro asked. Actually, I've been waiting here for you three, the man spoke. Why's that? Kango asked with a raised eyebrow as he stared at the man suspiciously. It's about your friends. The girls. Earlier some of the villagers came and kind of booted them out of your home. The man said. What? Kango shouted with new anger. Naruto walked over to the man. What's your name? Naruto asked. Ichiro. I was actually one of the people you saved before. You know, from that whole living plant incident. Ichiro said. Ah. How have you been? Fine. Actually, we are very grateful to you. Well, the ones you saved are, but the other villagers, when they heard what happened and the incident. What incident? Takaro asked. The other day, when Kuuna was attacked by someone of Kamigari. You mean that creep Hakuto? Don't worry, I beat the living hell out of him. I ever see him again, I'm going to punch him 1,000 times over. Naruto said. And we are grateful for what you did to protect her. She told us about your amazing feat, but her parents and the villagers who've never seen your group's kindness only heard Hakuto and became fearful. They were worried of Kamigari coming to hurt them, or use us against you, so they came over here and asked your friends to leave. Some of us tried to stop them, along with Kuuna, but when her father explained things, they just kind of gave up. Some of them were saying this house is owned by you. It's true. The three of us built it with our hands. In fact, you see that red spiral up there? Naruto jabbed his thumb to the Uzumaki clan symbol. That's my clan's symbol. This house was made by me with my friends, so to distinct it from other buildings owned by the village here, I carved that symbol. This manor is officially owned by the Uzumaki clan, and no one should have any say if deserves to live here or not, except for me. Naruto said. I see. Ichiro said. Oi. Kango said, earning Ichiro's attention. You said Kuuna's father explained things that made the girls leave. Did he tell any of you that he saw us finish building this house and saw Naruto carve that thing in with his own eyes? He did. Ichiro questioned with shock. Yeah. He said this made things better. That no one would mind. Takaro said. Suginoki-san, you knew and you still convinced them to leave. Do you and the others really let fear rule your lives to this degree? Ichiro thought with a frown. He then took in a deep breath in through his nose and then bowed to them. Sumimasen. Ichiro exclaimed, shocking the three. Takaro and Kango flinched while Naruto's eyes widened a bit in surprise. The people here mean well. They are all very nice, but they just let the fear of Kamigari rule their lives. I never knew my home was consumed with this much fear to do something so unforgivable. I know what they did was wrong, but I and the others you have saved tried our best to stop them. I'm sorry we didn't try harder. Please, on behalf of my village. Please accept my apology. Ichiro said with teary closed eyes. The three stared at him, with Takaro and even Kango feeling a bit bad, while Naruto was stoic. Apology not accepted. Naruto said, shocking Ichiro, Takaro and Kango. You have no need to apologize for your village. You don't speak for all of them, so it will not really be genuine, so I must decline this apology. Naruto said. Ichiro felt his tears ready to pour, but then he felt a hand on his shoulder. But I thank you for caring so deeply for a ragtag bunch of brats like us. Naruto said with a smile. Ichiro looked up to Naruto with surprised eyes. He stared at his warm smile. This was the smile of a strong yet compassionate young man, and it was directed at him. If you're heading back, tell your friends that we're getting the girls back and we're moving back in. No way am I letting my family sleep in some cave for the night. Naruto said as he walked past Ichiro. Ichiro stared at him with soft eyes as he felt inspired by this young man. The fact that he is so kind to someone like him, yet he is assertive enough to disobey the pleas of people living in fear just to shelter the people he calls his family. This is a man he felt he could follow if he could. Ichiro's lip quivered as he stared at Naruto. Arigato gozaimasu. Ichiro exclaimed as he stood up straight and faced Naruto. Geez man, you know you don't need to be all emotional like this, you know. Kango said looking to the sides as he picked his ear. Yeah, we're just happy that you told us. It means a lot. Takaro said with a smile. Ichiro looked to the other two, feeling a sense of appreciation from them. Kango. You said you have this bizarre sixth sense that helps you track down Yuka, so lead the way. Naruto said. Yosh. I am coming, my passionate angel. Kango shouted as he then sprinted off. Hey. Don't run so fast, man. We need to follow you, remember? Takaro shouted as he ran after Kango. Naruto turned to Ichiro with one last smile. Abayo, Ichiro. Arigato. Naruto said with a smile as he then disappeared. Ichiro stayed there in silence as he stared off into the direction the three left. He then smiled. I should thank you for being so kind despite how much my people have harmed yours. In a cave were the members of Maken. Well, almost. A few members were out in the rain doing something. Inside, Kuuna was playing with Manji as Anaho sat next to her. Cha-Cha sighed. This is boring, Tilda. Why couldn't we all go out together? Cha-Cha whined. Because that would have been pointless and you know it. Azuki said with her arms crossed. I guess, but all of us looking together would have been better than waiting here bored out of our minds. Cha-Cha said. Kimi was busy drawing something, which caught Fu's attention as she sat next to her. Hey, that's a good drawing of Naruto. Fu said with a smile, making Kimi blush. It really looks just like him too. Thanks. He's the only person I can actually draw. Usually every drawing I make of a person or animal looks bad, but I've practiced for years to perfect my skill on drawing Naruto-kun. Kimi said with a proud smile. Ah, Tilda, such devoting love. Reminds me of the love I share with Yusui-kun. Yuka said with a smile. The love the both of you share sometimes scares me. How can two people be so close and intimate like you two? Furin said. Don't ask me, it's just natural. Yuka said with a smile as she held her blushing cheeks. Tomiko just shook her head with a smile. I'm surprised you approve of this, especially since they do such lewd actions. Aki said. Says the woman in her 20s who wants her virginity taken away by a 16-year-old. Tomiko said with a smile, making Aki blush red. Not so loud, Tilda. Aki whispered as Tomiko giggled. I won't lie, I wasn't for it to begin with, but I let it happen because it seemed he was making Yuka happy. Although, I was very shocked to see how far he'd go just for her. Even willing to lose his life to gain the power to protect her. Tomiko's smile widened as she thought over Kengo's progress. He's really gone far despite being a rookie. Oh. They all turned to see Yuka's eyes open as her twin antenna hairs wiggled as if she was picking up something. That's weird. What's happening? Fu asked. Yusui-kun, he's near. Yuka exclaimed with joy. Huh, how can you tell? Furin asked in surprise. My heart and Yusui-kun's are connected no matter how far we are from each other. It is a sixth sense only I and Yusui-kun share. I can feel it right here. He is close. My darling Yusui-kun is coming for me. Yuka said as hearts and stars appeared around her as she had her arms open wide. That is the strangest sixth sense I've ever heard. And is very implausible. Furin said with an anime frown. Yuka-chan. What? No way. Furin shouted with a shocked anime expression. Yusui-kun. Yuka cheered with a smile. Kango then sprinted into the cave as he and Yuka embraced one another and locked lips filled with passion. Huh, that's some superpower. Fu said. I don't think it's a superpower. Yuruchi said. So this is where you all have been hiding. They all turned to see Naruto and Takaro appear at the cave's entrance. Naruto-kun. Azuki, Cha-Cha, Kimi, Aki, Furin, Fu and Kuuna cheered with smiles. Takaru-sama. Anaho cheered as she ran up to Takaro and hugged him. I'm so glad you're back. I thought you'd be gone for days. Yeah, what gives? I thought you said you'd be gone for days. Yuruchi said. I guess we kind of overestimated things a bit. Takaru said with a smile and rubbing the back of his head, but then he noticed someone wasn't with the group. Wait, where's Haruko? Himegami Imouto and Minori-chan aren't here either. Naruto said. They left to look for Kuuna's father. He came to look for her in the heavy rain. Anaho answered. Kuuna, why did you leave home? Naruto asked. Because they wouldn't listen to a thing I said. So I came looking for you guys instead. Kuuna exclaimed with a ticked anime expression. Yar yar. A spunky one, aren't you? I like that. Naruto said with a smirk. Kuuna then blushed with an open-mouthed smile as she had her fists to her blushing cheeks. Takaru, let's head out. Yusui, you stay here in case of anything. Kami only knows if anyone from Kamigari tries to take advantage of the situation. Naruto said. Oh, don't worry, I'm way ahead of you. Kango said with dismissive wave as Yuka cuddled up to his chest. Naruto sighed as he and Takaro then headed out. Oh Yusui-kun tilde, your chest is even muscular tilde. Yuka cooed as she rubbed her head against his chest. It is. Kango questioned in a bit of surprise. Naruto and Takaro were running through the rain searching for Haruko, Himegami and Minori. Damn, this rain is super cold. Takaro exclaimed. Oh, I haven't noticed. Naruto said. Seriously? Takaro asked. Yeah, actually, I feel really warm. Like there's a heat inside him that's illuminating my body. My body feels like a flame. Naruto said, now noticing his warm body heat, which is very odd in the type of weather they're running through. Has to be because of your demigod power. I mean, your ancestor is the sun goddess. Takaro said with a smile. Naruto smiled as well. Yeah, she is. Naruto said, happy to be related to not just a goddess, but a goddess who gives him life every day with the sun itself. No wonder I've always liked the sun. What about when it hits your face in the morning while you sleep? Takaro questioned with a smirk. I don't oversleep anymore. Naruto exclaimed with annoyance. Wait a minute, are you not getting wet? Takaro questioned, confusing Naruto. Ah. Nani? Takaro exclaimed as he jumped from shock. Minori-chan. Imo Uto. Naruto screamed as he recognized those pair of female screams. Naruto increased his speed, sprinting towards the source of the screams. Hey, wait up. You're faster than you used to be. Takaro shouted. Naruto sprinted until he skidded to a halt to see Minori and Himegami unconscious on the floor, in their bikinis. Minori-chan. Imo Uto. Naruto said, but he noticed something as he looked up to see a ghost woman. Ah! Naruto screamed with an anime face. Wait a minute. Naruto then did a closer inspecting as he brought up a hand and touched the ghost woman. This is just a doll. Naruto said as he tore the doll off of a string and looked at it with dull eyes. A very creepy one. He then noticed that what was supposed to be beside it floating was a small octopus. Octopus. Oh hell no. No one scares the shit out of one of my sisters and one of my women. Naruto shouted. He called me his woman. Minori cheered as she suddenly sat up with her fists thrusted into the air. She then blinked her eyes to notice Naruto was standing beside her. Naruto. You're back. Minori cheered with a smile. Naruto then grabbed the octopus and tore it from the string, as Minori screamed at the little cephalopod. Who in the living hell has the balls to scare two of the most important women in my life? Naruto questioned with a glare as his eyes glowed golden with flame coming out the outer sides of them. Minori blushed red as she stared at Naruto's new visage. The new thing with his eyes just looks so sexy. Mino-chan. Naruto spoke as his eyes returned to normal, bringing her out of her daze. Who did this? Naruto asked as he knelt down to her with his face close to her own. Minori's face was blushing at the closeness, but then she remembered who was behind this dirty trick. Hopeless Leo. Minori shouted as she shot up to her feet as she now had an angry glare and gritting teeth. That stupid-haired little geek dared to humiliate me. The rarest beauty and queen of Tenbi. I, Minori Rokuju, will have my revenge. Minori roared with anger as bulging veins appeared on the back of her fists. Well, I guess I can forget getting a punch in at him. Naruto said with half-lidded eyes and a smirk. Well letting me give the first beating. How gentlemanly of you. Minori said with a smile, closed eyes and a hand over her left breast, basically her heart, and she was on one foot with her other bent all the way back pressing against her thigh. That's how I am. After all, no one, not even I myself can stop the lovely Minori-chan's fury. Naruto said with a smile as he stood up. Besides, it is a perfect sight to see you shatter a man's jaw in one punch. Naruto said with a smirk as he rubbed his chin with his index. It's an art. Minori said with a smirk and shrug. Everything you do is an art. Especially when you use one hand to break an arm and a 6 ribs simultaneously and the other two. Alright, that's it. Come here, you hunk. Minori grinned as she grabbed the back of Naruto's head and locked lips with him. The two made out with pure hot fiery passion. Naruto's hand grabbed hold of Minori's bottom cheeks, making her squeak then moan with pleasure as she brought up a leg, trying to get at Naruto's waist. Naruto and Minori's tongues slid against one another, enjoying each other's taste. Suddenly someone cleared their throat, making them look to the side to see Takaro staring dully at them. Aren't you forgetting there's an unconscious girl at your feet? Takaro said with a frown as he pointing at the unconscious Himegami at the floor. The two hot-headed powerhouses looked down at Himegami with blinking eyes before chuckling to one another with embarrassment. They separated, but as Naruto was about to kneel down to Himegami, a grinning Minori grabbed his ass and squeezed it, making Naruto jump and blush while Takaro blushed red. To be continued. Minori said with an excited seductive grin and half-lidded eyes that had a perverted glint in them. Naruto chuckled with a grin and rubbing the back of his head while Takaru's jaw dropped. Naruto then knelt down, after his glutes got out of Minori's tight hold, and picked up his sister with one arm. Imouto. Wake up. Naruto said as he gently patted her cheek with the back of his hand since he still was holding the ghost doll. Himegami's remained unconscious. Naruto didn't want to have to do this, considering he'll get a harsh punishment when it's been said, but he could think of no other way to wake his little sister up after a scare from a creepy-looking ghost woman doll. Flat-chested. Naruto spoke, making Takaru's jaw drop even further while Minori's was agape as her eyes widened from Naruto's boldness. Suddenly Himegami's eyes shot open as she had an angry heated anime glare as she then grabbed Naruto's nose tightly in between her index and middle finger. Who's got a flat chest? You dumb fox-containing asshole. I'm going to burn you alive for that comment. Himegami screamed with unbridled unadulterated anger, but then she remembered what happened before things went dark. Wait, where is that weakling with the rejected hair? Himegami questioned, but then she saw the creepy ghost doll in Naruto's hand making her scream with an anime face. Naruto looked to the creepy down, sweating a bit as he was still a bit freaked out from the face of the thing, but then he burned it to ashes with golden fire. Creepy thing. Naruto mumbled. Was Haruko with you both? Takaro asked. Yes, she was, but now, well, Minori looked around, but found nothing. Well, she's not here. Ah. Naruto, can't you sense her or something? Takaro asked. Naruto closed his eyes for a second as he sensed a pulse of energy, shocking the girls as their eyes widened with pure shock at the feel and magnitude of his power, despite it just being a pulse. Naruto pointed in a certain direction. I sense a beaten down person, but it doesn't feel like, Naruto said. Haruko. Takaro screamed as he ran. Naruto helped Himegami up as then they and Minori watched a sprinting Takaro with dull looks, having one collective thought in mind regarding the reddish-haired teen. Baka. Kango was sitting against the cave wall with a smile on his face with a hand behind his head and the other on a smiling Yuka as she laid against him, with her head on his chest. Kuuna stared at them with half-lidded eyes. They are really in love, aren't they? Kuuna asked. Really? Isn't even enough to describe it. Trust me. Furin said. Suddenly Kango got serious as he got up, surprising Yuka as he then walked out of the cave. What do you want? Kango questioned as standing across from him was Hakuto. Oh, nothing. I was just surprised to see all of you let those villagers kick you out of your own home. Although seeing as you and the only other two males of the group just abandoned them. Suddenly there was a pulse of killer intent as the rain around Hakuto and Kango stopped as if an invisible dome surrounded the two. Hakuto's eyes widened with fear as he stared at Kango, who just dully glared at him, yet they possessed a glint of anger. Buzz off. You're irritating me. Kango said with a frown, narrowing his eyes at the man. Hakuto sweated a bit and gulped as he stared at Kango. He then just disappeared, running away as the rain then continued to pour as the invisible dome vanished. Kango glared ahead, annoyed at the unexpected guest. Pain in the ass. Kango muttered. Yusui-kun tilde. Kango turned with surprise as a happy Yuka tackled into him, hugging him, but he stayed on his feet, despite the strength behind the tackle. That was so manly tilde. Yuka cheered with a wide loving smile as hearts appeared around her. The others just stared in shock at what had transpired. What just happened? Furin questioned with wide eye and agape mouth. Amazing. His execution, everyone looked to Tomiko. His use over his weapon was so precise and quick that he destroyed every single water drop around them, creating a pseudo-dome around himself and the man. Tomiko said with wide shocked eyes. How did he? Yuruchi couldn't even finish her sentence as they all stared at a blushing Kango, Scratching the back of his head as a smiling, blushing Yuka rubbed her head against his chest saying, I love you, over and over again. Aki blinked her eyes as she stared at Yusui. He, along with Naruto and Takaro, just left earlier and now came back, and the dark-haired of the trio came back even more powerful than before, enough to shock his own teacher. Where did those two go off to? Aki wondered. Hakuto was dashing through the forest, still shell-shocked by his encounter. That power. It was unreal. I thought I had a chance against them since the blonde wasn't around, but I would have been dead if I had tried anything with that dark-haired one around. Hakuto thought as he turned his head back towards the direction of the cave as he narrowed his eyes. Although, that power. It felt so familiar, like, Hakuto closed his eyes as he gazed ahead. Could he be one of them? And if so, how did we lose such a valuable asset like that? Hakuto wondered to himself. Takaro sprinted as fast as he could, with Naruto behind him carrying Himegami on his back, piggyback style, while a grinning Minori rode on the back of a flying golden Asura, flying by the side of its master. Now this is one hell of a way to travel. Minori cheered with a thrust fist into the air. The body's up ahead. Naruto said. Haruko. Takaro screamed as he increased speed. Geez, a little louder, damn baka. Himegami said. Fools in love, huh? Naruto said with a smirk. Too deep at that. Himegami said with closed eyes. Takaro then skidded to a halt as he stared down at the beaten body. Good news, it wasn't Haruko. Bad news, it was Leo Hirata. You. Takaro shouted with new anger. Oh, well if it isn't hopeless Leo. Minori said with a menacing tone and smirk. Ah, Leo moaned in pain as he looked up to see the four, sweating at the sight of Minori who was riding on a muscular demon ghost thing. Wait, what? But what frightened him the most is Naruto, who stared at him with a stoic, yet mad expression on his face. Mercy! He screamed in fear at the sight of Naruto. Suddenly he was grabbed by the collar and pulled up by an angry Takaro. Where's Haruko? Takaro yelled. She left after I tried to stop her. Leo quickly said with his hands up. Why did you try to stop her? Takaro shouted, demanding answers. I was ordered not to allow any ability users through. When she ran off saying that she had to save some guy she sensed, I chased after her only to get my butt kicked. In fact my boys, who were supposed to make sure you two didn't wake up, Minori and Himegami growled at him with calm half-lidded glares, scaring him. They heard my screams of pain and decided to go after her on my behalf. Loyal men you got there, but if they're the two broken down bodies up ahead then they need a little more training. Naruto said. Damn. Leo cursed with gritting teeth. Oi, Leo. Naruto spoke making Leo look to him. You don't like working for Kamigari, do you? Naruto asked, surprising the older blonde. I could sense a spike in fear, but it wasn't really directed at us. You're scared of Oken. Who wouldn't be? Leo retorted. Me for one. Naruto and Minori said in unison. Were they just in sync right now? Leo thought with a sweat drop expression. If you're scared, why not leave? Takaro asked. You don't understand. Leo said with a frown. Then make us. Actions don't always speak, you know. Takaro said with a frown. Mine do. Minori said with a smirk and cracking her knuckles. Leo frowned as he looked to the ground. Those two, if I leave, they won't have anyone to go to, they'll die without me. Leo said as he thought of his two subordinates. His friends. So take them with you, simple as that. Don't go using them as a crutch. You're just afraid to take the first step and you know it. Naruto said with a stern expression and tone. Leo gritted his teeth a bit as he felt like crying at how pathetic he is. A monster, Takaro said with his eyes shadowed. Huh. Minori said as she and the others looked to him. We fought a monster, we weren't even as big as its thumb, but, Naruto and I, along with our friend Yusui, we fought it. Takaro said making the girls and Leo look to Naruto who looked calm. And we were scared for our lives, but we still fought it. Takaro screamed with teary eyes. I thought I was going to die. I was going to lose my friends. And that I would die before telling Haruko that no matter how scared I was, I fought back, no matter how scared I was. If a lowered-ranked loser like me was brave enough to do something like that, Then what's the excuse of someone who's higher ranking than me who only needs to walk away? Takaro yelled with gritting teeth. Leo's eyes widened with shock, before they looked to the ground. Think about it. Takaro shouted as he punched Leo's face into the ground. Minori and Himegami's eyes with anime widened, blinking at the sudden rash move on Takaru's part. Where are those other two? Takaro asked Naruto. I think I'll lead. Naruto said as he ran off with Takaro and Golden Asura, with Minori still riding on the spirit's back with Himegami still on Naruto's, headed off in one direction, leaving an even more beaten and moaning Leo indented into the ground with a swollen red steaming cheek. Poor Haruko. How did she get here? Everything started with finding a cave and resting there for the night, but out of nowhere she had awoken as she felt a large source of power from a distance. It felt like her little brother's energy. She got up and walked out the cave as she sensed Naruto's energy from afar, and somehow, she could see it. A golden plume of flames from afar. However, she had sensed a dim energy source that needed some care. She ran off with only Minori noticing and found Kuuna. Once bringing her back to the cave, she explained that she was so angry that no one listened about how nice they were that she ran away, but after a little lecture, they got her to call home, only to learn that her father went out to find her, in the harsh weather that was occurring nonetheless. They were all ready to go out, but Minori brought up the fact that Haruko had sensed Kuuna and where she was on her own, like a bloodhound who could smell one's element. This was when Haruko's new gift for sensory was revealed. Instead of separating people in groups, only Haruko, Minori and Himegami would go off to find Kuuna's father. They didn't want to separate into several teams in case there were any enemy ambushes, so they only had one team of the group's strongest to complete the objective. Sadly, they bumped into Leo Hirata, and he used a baby octopus and a creepy ghost woman doll to scare Minori and Kodama into unconsciousness, so she ran off when she sensed an energy source that spiked a bit through intensity, but she had to first deal with beating down Leo and his subordinates who tried to stop her. She managed to find him in a river down in a small abyss, holding onto a vine for dear life. She went to help him, carefully climbing down, but as she tried to help him up, he grip slipped thanks to the pouring rain, so she fell in. She was now holding onto Kuuna's father as they both were being carried by the stream. Damn, how things can turn out. No, even though I know how to swim, the pressure from this stream, I can't handle it, my body, is starting to get lighter, Haruko thought as she was losing oxygen. Up above, Hakuto was passing by the stream, sensing the two energy sources, making him look to see Haruko with some man under the water coming by his way. Oh, it's that man I led into the stream. Seems she's trying to save him. I hope she wasn't foolish enough to save him before he was so close to dying, or else all was for naught. Hakuto said with a frown. Haruko. Takaro screamed as he ran past Hakuto and dived into the stream as he saw Haruko. And he dived in without a second thought. How reckless. Hakuto said, but then he sensed some killer intent making him turn around to see Naruto, carrying Himegami, glaring at him with Golden Asura, carrying Minori, by his side. Hakuto's eyes widened as he developed a look of fear, before bolting. Naruto just watched as Hakuto ran off, before going, HMPH. Haruko's heartbeat was slowing, but suddenly a pair of strong arms wrapped around her and Kuuna's father, as then they came above the surface of the stream. Haruko! Takaro exclaimed as he stared at the barely conscious girl. She didn't respond and seemed unconscious. Haruko! Takaro frowned as he then took a deep breath in through his mouth and locked lips with Haruko as he exhaled the gathered air into her lungs. Haruko's eyes slowly opened, before widening with pure shock as Takaro's lips were connected to her own. Out of instinct, she slapped his face away. Taki. What? Why are you here? Haruko questioned. That's a stupid question. I came to help you. Takaro said with a grin, making a surprised Haruko blush. Takaro then noticed they were about to collide with a boulder. Takaro quickly hugged her and Kuuna's father as he decided to take the impact for them. Haruko, I love you. Takaro shouted. Haruko's eyes widened with shock as her head slowly looked up to his face as they hit the boulder in the way, with the oversized rock breaking to pieces. Haruko broke out of her mini trance as she suddenly exploded with energy and burst out of the stream, managing to get herself, Takaro and Kuuna's father out of the underground river. She lied the two down and was sitting on her knees right by Takaru's side, staring down at him as he groaned. He opened his eyes as he looked to see Haruko was staring down at him. The two stared at one another in silence for long moments, then their cheeks started to redden as Haruko was leaning down closer to him. Hey! Suck each other's faces later. Minori shouted as she and the others caught up, making Haruko lean back and Takaru sit up at a breakneck speed, with both their faces glowing red. Right now let's get Kuuna and her father home. Minori said looking down at Mr. Suginoki. Then we'll go home. Naruto said making the girls look to him in confusion while Takaru smiled. After dropping off Kuuna and her father, the group of 5 regrouped with the others and headed back to the manor. But won't the villagers be angry if we go back? Anaho asked with a worried cat-like mouth and anime eyes. I'm angry enough as it is with all the bullshit we came back to. Naruto said with a calm, yet stern tone. He was up ahead with his hands in his pockets as his back was facing them as he led the way. The girls could tell he was angry even though he wasn't looking at them. The rain is letting up a bit. Furin said as she noticed the rain was lightening up. That's good. Gives you all less of a chance of getting a cold, but just to be sure, I'm making soup when we get home. Naruto said. Ni-sama, if the villagers come back, then what? I'll talk to them. No one is kicking my family out of their own home again. Naruto said in a stern, stoic tone, answering Anaho's question. The girls couldn't help but blush and smile at the family comment. By the way, what was this monster that Takaru mentioned earlier? Minori asked. We'll fill you on the details when we get inside. Naruto said. They all then made it to the manor, and went inside. Naruto immediately released his tiny scrolls as clones of him appeared and got to work making some soup. Hey Naruto, how come you're so dry? Fu asked, earning the others' attention. Naruto blinked as he looked to his gloved hand then the rest of himself to see he was dry. Maybe it's a side effect from finally awakening your god blood. Takaru said. Could be. Naruto said. God blood. The girls screamed with shocked anime faces. Naruto chuckled nervously as he scratched the back of his head. I'll explain things over dinner. Naruto said with a nervous smile. After finishing the soup, which the girls were very thankful for since Minori encouraged them to live off the land and eat things like bugs for sustenance. Okay, if Naruto wasn't pissed before, he is now. How dare some people force them out of their own home and survive through eating insects? The boys told the girls their story. Their discoveries from the beasts inside being pain summons and more, to meeting Amaterasu and finding out the truth. Once they finished, the 3 earned bumps on their heads given to them from their respective love interests. Naruto from Azuki and Furin, Kango from Yuka, and Takaru from Haruko. You could have gotten killed. The girls screamed. Ow tilde. Kango whined. Is it too late to go back and play with Patch? Takaru whispered, not wanting to feel Haruko's wrath any longer. I can't believe you 3. When you left this morning, we thought it'd be just a camping trip, but you went to fight monsters. Haruko scolded. Don't you idiots ever think of how dangerous anything is? Azuki joined in. To be fair, we didn't know it would be infested with imprisoned monsters. Kango said. You 3 knew the legend behind the damn maze, so what made you think it wouldn't have anything dangerous like that in there? I mean, for the love of the kamis, Naruto's world is filled with giant talking toads, snakes, slugs and other beasts. What made you think you wouldn't see something like that in this world? Haruko shouted. Like you did. Takaru shouted back. Don't you yell at me. You're the ones who risked your lives. Haruko exclaimed as she leaned in closer to her red-haired crush. Yay tilde. Fu and Cha-Cha cheered. What is wrong with you 2? Didn't you hear what these idiots did? Azuki said to the 2 mocha-skinned girls. Yeah. Our world and Naruto-kun's world are technically the same. Which means we really are related. Cha-Cha exclaimed with a grin. We're related to ninja. Anaho cheered with her fists thrust into the air. I love you, Nei-chan. Fu cheered with a grin as she and Cha-Cha hugged, Kimi sitting next to them with a smile as her eyes sparkled and stars appeared around her. Naruto-kun and I are even closer now. Kimi said with stars and hearts appearing around her as her hands interlocked. Azuki and Haruko realized that this was true. To think both their worlds, Maken and Shinobi, were once one, but became separate through a dispute between two powerful gods. I still can't wrap my head around this. I mean, you're a demigod. Himegami spoke up, still shell-shocked by the truth as all eyes were now on Naruto. Naruto just smiled and shrugged. And you're a descendant of the sun goddess. Explains his bright and warm personality. Cha-Cha said with a smile. Now that made a lot sense. How was she like? Himegami asked with a blush. Naruto put his finger to his chin as he thought about the best way to describe his goddess. Although the answer came instinctively. Like a mother. Naruto said with a warm smile. Himegami couldn't help but smile at the answer. At least she knew that the gods can be kind. Are you related to her through your mother or your father's side? Anaho asked. I never actually asked. Naruto said, scratching his cheek with his index finger. That's a good question though. He mumbled. Wait, is Kurama still alive or is he in heaven now? Cha-Cha asked as she and the others feared for the kitsune. Nah, he's still here. I'm glad he didn't stay dead. I'm really grateful to my goddess for reviving him. Naruto said with a smile as he patted his stomach, where his open seal remained. What was heaven like? Anaho asked with innocent curiosity and a cat-like smile. Well, I did see that there were lush mountains and lakes that rejuvenate your body of any wounds. I remember that there are these little golden koi that eat away at the dead flesh as fresh new one takes its place. My hands felt as soft as a newborn's skin when they finished. Naruto said with a smile. Sugoi tilde. All the women said in amazement. So what? Do Takaro-sama and Yusui-kun have some of Amaterasu-sama's energy when you healed them after you got your god powers? Anaho asked, quickly interrupting Uruchi. Sorry, I'm just so excited. Anaho apologized to a sweat-dropped Uruchi with her hands moving in paw motions. We're not sure, but we do feel stronger. Kango answered as he and Takaro flexed their biceps, feeling the power they received course through their veins. So what about this monster you guys fought? Big, Lenny, right? Uruchi questioned, getting a nod from the three. You guys, beat this thing? She asked, earning another trio nod. A giant monster that even dwarfed Kurama, you beat it? Yeah. Naruto sent him flying straight out of the labyrinth. Takaro said with a smile. Wait, you sent this thing flying from the labyrinth? Free it! Furin exclaimed with shock. The trio slowly nodded as they didn't like this gut feeling they were getting. Haven't you realized that you unleashed this thing upon the world, freeing it from its cage? Furin screamed, adjusting her glasses. The boys just stared at her, before their faces slowly became frightened anime-styled. What have we done? After dinner, the gang just decided to head to bed and worry about Big Lenny another day, since both Naruto and Haruko don't sense his presence or any violent urges anywhere. Right now, Naruto was downstairs finishing cleaning the dishes. Man, what a day. The gang back in Konoha wouldn't believe it. Naruto thought. And how could he ever blame them? He had fought and defeated a monster that dwarfed the tailed beasts, and he discovered that he is the descendant of Amaterasu, who had awakened the god part of his DNA, officially making him a demigod. Yeah, no one would believe it. Then again, he is a man of the impossible. After finishing the dishes, Naruto made his way upstairs to head to his room. Once on the floor where his room resided, he walked past an open door and noticed that Aki was changing. Naruto's face turned red as he gently knocked on the door, surprising her. Your door is open. Naruto said. Aki screamed a small embarrassed scream as she ran over to the door and closed it, but apparently she held something strong in her free hand. Aki turned to see that she had instinctively grabbed Naruto and pulled him into the room. Is there something I could help you with? Naruto asked. Aki's face was turning red as she was standing in front of Naruto, topless, exposed. Suddenly someone from behind wrapped her form in a long coat. She turned to see it was Naruto's spirit, Golden Asura, who was covering her with her doctor's coat. Aki looked to Naruto to finally notice that this whole time he wasn't staring at her. I didn't want to put you in that position, Ttebeo. A blushing Naruto said as his spirit vanished. Aki blushed at his kindness as then she suddenly jumped at him, wrapping her arms around his neck and kissing him. Naruto's eyes widened at the sudden lips contact, while Aki had her eyes closed, enjoying the kiss. Naruto quickly, but gently pushed her away. Aki-sensei, what do you love about me? Naruto asked as he held her shoulders. Aki looked surprised as she blushed a bit. No one's ever asked her that before. In fact, no one this close to her has ever been this close to her before, not even Akaya. And it can't be appearance-wise. It has to be something about myself in general. Naruto said. Oh. Aki blinked as she thought it over. What did she like about Naruto? No, not like, love. Well, you're kind, strong, manly. And you have this charm to you. You're as bright as the sun. In fact, after today that goes without saying, but, the fact that you'd go out of your way to help anyone, even complete strangers, to even die for them, it just seems so attractive. Like a sexy attraction, but it's nice and warm. Like, Aki then smiled as she moved in and hugged him close to her. Just the feel of your body, against mine. Aki snuggled more into Naruto. Naruto then wrapped his arms around her. Forgive me, Aki-sensei. Naruto said, surprising Aki. I just felt that, you were only attracted to me, you know, sexually and not. Well, we don't really find the time to talk much. Aki said. Naruto then pulled back with his hands on her shoulders as he smiled at her. Then let's change that. Naruto said with a smile. Let's spend some time together, just you and me. Tomorrow or maybe that day after. Whenever we find the time. Aki's eyes widened, but then they softened as she smiled at him. I'd like that. Aki said with a smile and nod. I'll let you get to bed. Sorry for intruding. Naruto said with an apologetic smile as he opened the door and walked right out. Naruto. Aki spoke softly. Naruto turned, only for his face to become red and his nose to bleed as Aki allowed her doctor's coat to fall, exposing her naked breasts to him, as she suddenly attacked his lips with her arms wrapped around his neck and her breasts smooshed against his hard chest. Naruto placed his hands on her tailbone, right where her back and bottom met, as he returned the kiss. Aki blushed as she felt his tongue slide into her mouth as their tongues licked and slid against one another. This just felt so right. The two then separated, blushes on their faces, as Aki took a few steps back and slowly started to close the door. Until tomorrow. Aki said with a smile as she closed the door. Naruto stood there with the blush still on his cheeks, before he closed his eyes and smirked with his hands on his hips. TCH. Yar days. She really knows how to shock a guy. Naruto said, still smirking. He then continued down the hall to his room, but then something caught his attention. A smell he was oh so used to. A smell that he desired more than anything. Ramen. Naruto whispered. Naruto silently ran down the hall, following the scent until he stopped in front of Minori's door. Naruto placed his hand on the door as he slowly then pushed it open to find a sigh that made his eyes widen anime style as he saw a path outlined by bowls of ramen leading to the queen-size bed in the room where Minori sexily laid on her side with a hand on her waist and the other holding her head. Yeah, that pose. We all know it, with bowls of ramen surrounding her in a circle formation. I told you it would continue. Minori said with a smirk. Naruto stared at her with hearts for eyes as his cheeks were red and his nose bled perversely. Minori's smirk widened as she gestured for him to come over with her index finger. Naruto's soldier stood at attention as the blonde grinned, kicking the door closed, and for the rest of the night, had the best sex yet with moans, pleasure and the enjoyment of ramen with the oh so undeniably sexy Minori Rokuju. Everyone was now eating breakfast together outside on the outside long table. Anaho was still asking questions about Naruto experience yesterday. Even if there were some he couldn't really answer, he couldn't deny how cute Anaho is with her genuine curiosity. As everyone was enjoying their meals, Haruko was staring down at her own, thinking about yesterday. Sitting right beside her was Takaro, who was happily enjoying his meal. Haruko remembered what she heard him say yesterday, or at least hopefully heard correctly. Haruko, I love you. Haruko looked to Takaro with a red blush. Did she hear him right? Or were the words all in her head? She couldn't help but want clearer answers. She looked down to see his hand on the bench they sat down at. Slowly, upon instinct, Her hand inched closer to Takaru's hand, until she grabbed it, making Takaru stop and look down to see that Haruko was holding his hand. Takaru looked to Haruko as the two stared at one another with red blushing cheeks. However, when they saw the sly anime faces of Naruto and Himegami, who were sitting right beside on another, they separated and continued eating, trying to ignore the situation with their cheeks burning red. How pathetic of them, Himegami said with a smirk. Even when they know it's out in the open, they still act like 5-year-old children. Naruto said with a grinning smirk. Haruko and Takaru glared at the two, making fun of their shyness. Takaru-kun _. Suddenly Takaru was tackled into a hug by an appearing Syria, whose breasts were smooshed up against his face. I'm so happy you're back. I thought I wouldn't see you for days. Syria said with a gleeful smile and anime tears, but then she noticed something. Did you gain more muscle? Syria asked with a smile as she felt his bicep. Well, Takaru blushed in embarrassment while Haruko glared at Syria. Pissed. Haruko looked to her other side to see Azuki eating her meal. Don't go waiting too long or you'll regret it. If it's that clear, then jump the wagon. Azuki said with a calm, yet experienced tone as she continued to eat. Haruko looked to her in surprise, but found her words were true. Guys. They all turned to see Kuuna with Mori in her arms running up to them. Kuuna, what are you doing here? You didn't run away again, did you? Takaru questioned. For your information, ugly face, I came to tell you the villagers came to talk to you. They're heading over here right now. Kuuna said. Again. Oh geez. Azuki said with a frown. Don't they ever fuck off? Fu asked, as everyone then looked to her in surprise. What? We were all thinking it. Fu said with a shrug. Naruto then stood up and walked back into the house and headed for the front door. You don't think he'll? Oh, he's gonna. Azuki said, answering Yuruchi's question. Naruto walked out of the house as he saw some of the villagers, with Kuuna's father trying to convince some of the others led by this dark-haired man to leave the teens and their teachers be. Please Eiji-san, I'm begging you to reconsider. Kuuna's father, Mr. Suginoki said. Suginoki-san, as long as they are on this island we are all at risk to Kamigari. The tall dark-haired man known as Eiji said. There's one of them now. A villager said pointing at Naruto, who leaned against the side of the house with his arms crossed and a stoic, yet stern look on his face. Are you one of these kids? Eiji asked walking past Suginoki-san. Yes I am. And are you one of the people who kicked my family out of our home? Naruto retorted. Your home. This is our island. I'm not referring to the island, and last I checked, land isn't truly owned by anybody. Naruto said in a calmly, yet intimidating tone as some of the villagers sweated a bit from his presence. You see that symbol up there? Naruto jabbed his finger back pointing to the red swirl above the door of the manor. That's my clan's symbol. The night Suginoki-san asked us to stay in the bungalow instead of the warm inn he runs. I built this for my family and branded it with my clan's symbol so it'll technically be owned by me and not by the residents of this island, otherwise known as you lot. Naruto explained, surprising the villagers. Is that true, Suginoki-san? A villager asked. Suginoki looked away in shame, which answered their question. So let me ask, what in the holy hell gave you all the balls to think that you all had the right to send a bunch of teenagers, kids who haven't reached adulthood, to fend for themselves out in the wilderness while they wait for a fairy days later? Naruto questioned as he pushed off the wall and took a few steps forward with his hands in his pockets. Oh oi, wait a minute, they have those teachers with them. Eiji quickly said. And if they didn't, would you have let them stayed, or would you have done the same act nonetheless? Naruto questioned with a stern tone and expression, making Eiji sweat. The rest of Maken Ki showed up to see how Naruto was handling the situation, and to stop him, if they could, if things go a bit too far. Listen you. We're just hard-working people who want no trouble, so don't you and your friends go acting all Yakamashi. Uto Shisa. Shut up. You're damn annoying. Naruto screamed with anger, annoyance, and pure intimidating authority in his tone, making everyone flinch in fear. I don't give two shits about your reasons. You kicked a bunch of kids who mean no harm out of their own summer home. Do you think just by looking at us that we're nothing but monsters to you? Hold on, I never said that. Eiji said with some worry. But you act as though we are unnatural beasts, don't you? Naruto sternly stated. The villagers who feared them looked away in shame, hating to admit he is right. We're human. Not monsters. Get that through your skulls and leave. Naruto ordered as he turned and walked away. I'll let this slide, but just this once. If you ever try and kick my family out of their own home again, I will not forgive you. Naruto said without turning back to the group. Eiji frowned as he stared at the retreating blonde. He then felt a hand on his shoulder making him turn to see Suginoki-san. The two along with their fellow villagers turned and walked away. Naruto patted Kuuna's head, surprising the child. Thank you for the heads up, Kuuna. I'm happy you were looking out for my family. Naruto said smiling down at the girl. My friends. Kuuna said with her own smile making Naruto's widen more. You better go and join your father Kuuna. Haruko said. But I want to stay here with you guys. Kuuna said. And we want you to, but it looks like your dad needs some cheering up. Anaho said pointing at Kuuna's sad father. Kuuna frowned, but then her eyes got a little more determined as she nodded and ran off to catch up with her father. Once making it to him, she grabbed her father's hand making him look down to her smiling face, making him smile as well. Are we really letting those kids stay? A villager asked. Hey, those guys are tough. They'll protect us in a heartbeat. Even Naruto. I hear from their principal that he's even stronger than that dirty Okan guy. Kuuna shouted making everyone stop and turn to her in shock. Just you watch. If something happens, he'll be here to protect us, along with every one of them. Kuuna said with a confident smile. Mr. Suginoki turned towards the manor to see the young teens and teacher walk back inside, but when Naruto noticed him, he gave him a calm smile and waved at him before he re-entered the manor. Mr. Suginoki smiled, feeling like what his daughter said is true. Yes, I do believe they will. Okay, something to say before we continue. For those who know, what Naruto screamed at the villagers, Yakamashi. Yuto Shisa, is the famous line from Jotaro Kujo whenever people, usually girls, annoy him. Yakamashi, I got that down, but I'm not sure how to spell the, you're damn annoying, part, but from what I've heard from multiple listenings, this is what it definitely sounds like, so I spelled it the best I could, despite not finding the exact wording even through all my efforts. Trust me, I tried to find the exact spelling. Well, now that that's out of the way, on with the story. Gen sat atop of a Manohara, sensing strong ability users climbing the mountain. When they arrived, he looked to see they were all masked with battle kimonos on. What are you doing here, Maken blacksmith? The leader, who wore a demon mask, questioned. I came to tell you bunch that you're wasting your time. What Okan is looking for is not here anymore. General said. How? The leader questioned with narrowed eyes. That, I'll never tell. General said with a frown. The Kamigari soldiers in front of him got in their fighting positions, but they were immediately electrified and rendered unconscious faster than Gen could blink. What, pushovers? Yan said. Now Yan. The only reason this is apparent to you is because you have been given amazing training that surpasses many from Kamigari. Possibly even Okan. Akaya said, atop of the rock structure on the mountain, in a pose with a sparkles surrounding him, spoke as the rest of Venus, minus Syria for obvious reasons, appeared on the mountain. What are you all doing here? Gen asked with a bored and annoyed expression. We figured you'd wish to join us. Okan is on the move. We are going over to assist Maken Ki. Akaya said. Okan is off to meet them. Why? Gen asked. Oh, that's a doozy of a story. Akaya said with a smirk. It was around night time and Naruto was at the door, talking with Mr. Suginoki who had Kuuna next to him. Thank you for being so merciful. Mr. Suginoki said with a grateful smile. Ma, you don't have to say it like that. Makes me sound kind of harsh. I'm just happy that things are a little smoother around her now. Naruto said with a smile as he scratched his cheek with his index finger. We brought these. Kuuna said as she and her father extended some bags to him. It's Dad's way of saying sorry and thank you. Kuuna said. Well, you didn't have to. Naruto said with a smile. We insist. It means a lot for you to help us, despite what we, Kuuna nudged her father. What I and my fellow people did to you. Apology accepted. It means a lot that you're giving us a chance. Naruto said with a smile. Once handing him their gift to the group, they headed out with a wave goodbye that the blonde demigod happily returned. He then handed the bags to his friends, who were surprised, but were happy by the Suginoki family's generosity. Right now, our trio of males were sitting on the couch, ready to open some canned drinks in front of the TV. Watching some anime. Some old DBZ anime. Takaro dressed in a black with orange trimming shirt and yellow with black lined shorts, Kango dressed in his camo tank top and black shorts, and Naruto dressed in his white with black trimming undershirt, leather pants and ankle boots, and of course still wore his biker gloves, like he always does. You know, I can't think of anything better than just sitting around, drinking, whatever this is, watching old school anime with friends. Takaro said as they opened their cans. Except maybe a nice blowjob to go along with it. Kango said. Yep. Naruto said as he and Kango did cheers with their cans, while Takaru's entire face was burning red. What is this stuff anyway? It says peach cocktail, so why doesn't it smell like peaches? You thought you'd get that with a name like this? Kango said with a frown as he stared at the drink inside his can. Naruto took a sip and after a moment of tasting it, the liquid being absorbed by his taste buds, he knew exactly what it was. It's liquor. Naruto said. The three blinked as they stared at their drinks. Hit me. Kango said raising his can as they three did one big cheers and drank up. You know Naruto, I think you left that armor Kenway gave you back in the labyrinth. Kango said making Naruto's eyes widen anime style. Suddenly Minori leapt over the couch and landed on Naruto's lap. Hello boys. Mind drinking with me? Minori said with a grin. Already ahead of you. Kango said as he raised his peach cocktail. PFF'd. Forget that kiddie stuff. You've got to try this. Minori raised a can of beer up for the three young men to see. Naruto took the can of beer and then drank it and the peach cocktail at the same time. Dude, that's not healthy. Kango said. Piss off Yusui. He's just being a real man tilde. Minori purred with a cat-like smile as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck as the blonde finished the cans and sighed with delight, but then he yelped as his face turned red, surprising Minori and the boys. Oh tilde, a real man Naruto tilde. They looked to see Aki, dressed in only a revealing bikini with her doctor's coat over her, kneeling on the floor as she slid her body on Naruto's lap, with her breasts pressing against his lower body. That's what I want. That's all I'll ever need. Naruto-kun tilde. Aki moaned as she slid up to Naruto's lap, now sitting on it as well with Minori. Make love to me Naruto-kun tilde. Aki spoke as she kissed a well-deserved shocked Naruto. Has Aki-sensei been drinking too? Takaro asked. Man, what a lightweight. Kango said as he drank more of his peach cocktail. Hey back off. He's my man tonight. Minori shouted. No fair. You always get to spend more time with him than me tilde. I want some time with Naruto-kun. Aki whined. Well no one can pleasure him like I can. I'm the queen of sex. Minori said with a cocky grin and her thumb jabbed to her chest. I think she's drunk too. Takaro whispered the best he could to Yusui. No kidding. Kango said with a dull look. That's not true. I can pleasure him too tilde. Aki said shocking the trio of young men. Oh yeah. Prove it. Minori exclaimed. Aki then suddenly unbuckled Naruto's pants, shocking them with their jaws dropping as the nurse slid her hand in his pants and actually started jerking him off. Oh Naruto-kun tilde, you're so big and manly tilde. And when you become so dominant like you were with those mean, awful villagers this morning, it always gets me turned on tilde. Aki moaned to a red-faced Naruto as she continued stroking his long, strong member. Minori was impressed and jealous of Aki's newfound confidence and bold move, while Kango and Takaro stared at the sight with shocked anime faces complete with jaws dropped. Oh ho! Don't think two can't play at that game. Minori shouted as she stuck her hand down Naruto's pants and started jerking him off too, making Naruto moan. Like that. It's my special technique. I just warm up my hand with my thermal energy to give you even more pleasure with my warm touch. Kind of like how you used your chakra when you fucked my brains out that night. Minori said seductively. Okay, that's it. Watching a double jerking from too hot, Big busted women with hands in someone's pants is where I draw the line. Kango said as he stood up and walked towards the den, where the girls are, and opened the door. Oi Yuka-chan, you wanna go upstairs so we can. However, he stopped in mid-sentence when he saw all the girls were in their underwear. Oh tilde, I'm so happy I have Naruto-kun in my life. I've always wanted a strong man and now I have the strongest as my lover. Cha-cha said with a huge smile and red blush. Me too. Azuki said with a blush and her bent index finger to her lips. I've always liked strong men too, and now that I have Naruto, my life is a marriage and baby away from being complete. I never thought I'd fall in love with a man again, but Naruto is everything I ever need in my life. What I'd give for him to take me now and make me into a woman again tilde. Furin cooed. Yeah tilde. Azuki, Cha-cha and Kimi agreed with smiles on their faces. I wish he could make me into a woman. Fu said with a frown. I'm sure he will someday, emo udo tilde. Cha-cha said with a drunk grin as she gave her sister a one-arm hug with the side of her face smooshed against Cha-cha's right breast. Until then you could just pleasure yourself to his pictures in his manga. That's what I've always done. Kimi said with a smile. Whoa tilde. That is too much information. Kango thought with wide eyes as he watched the drunk half-naked girls talk. They haven't even noticed I'm here. It must be so nice to be in love with a person and being in a real relationship with him. Anaho whined. All I know is the worst type of guy is an indecisive one. The kind that just can't choose just one girl. Syria said with a frown. Hey, you're insulting Naruto-kun. Cha-cha shouted with a pouting glare with her fellow Naruto lovers and Fu glared at Syria. Well, it's true. Indecisive men are such a pain. Syria said with a pout. I actually agree with you. I especially hate a guy who forgets about memories he shared with you during your childhood. Anaho exclaimed, shaking her can of peach cocktail. And then he gets giddy around other women right in front of you. That kind is the worst. Haruko added with a frown. Yup. It just irritates me that a guy who's oblivious to a woman's feelings actually exists. Syria exclaimed. I don't have to say his name to figure out who you three are talking about. Heimgami said with dull anime eyes. Well, they're obviously talking about Takaro. Man, how drunk are these girls? Kango thought. Takaro walked away from the twin jerk-off scene, only for his nose to explode a bit with blood as he saw all the girls in their underwear. Whoa tilde, what? Takaro said, making all the girls look to the two males and scream. Get out of here. Boys aren't allowed here. Yuruchi shouted. I just came to see my Yuka-chan. Yusui said nonchalantly with a frown. And I just wanted to get away from Aki and Minori jerking off Naruto, so I came joined Yusui. Takaro quickly said with his hands up. What? Azuki, Cha-cha, Kimi, Furin, Fu, Anaho and Yuruchi shouted with shock at Takaro's words. They're doing what to him? Haruko shouted with shock and disgust. You know Yuruchi-san is right tilde. Since no boys are allowed, I'll just turn you both into women tilde. Syria chimed. Say what? Takaro and Kango exclaimed with shock. Syria then slammed her hands onto their chests as they glowed, activating her Maken inverse, to transform them into women. Admittingly very attractive ones. Check out Chapter 37, Drank and Meat. Their female selves look really great. Especially Kango. It's shocking how hot a female Kango looks. The two men, now women, slowly looked down at each other, then themselves, as they then stared at their own boobs, grabbing them, making themselves moan from the touch, before gasping. I'm a chick. They then looked at each other. Dude, you're hot. They then ran to a long wall mirror in the den and looked themselves over. Whoa, I'm actually pretty hot as a girl. Kango admitted as suddenly Yuka snaked her arms around the now female Kango. You sure are. Yuka said with a wide smile as she slid her hand down into Kango's pants. Yuka-chan, wait oh tilde. Kango moaned as a perverted Yuka pleasured his new area. Feels good doesn't it? Yuka chimed with a drunk smile. Takaru's jaw dropped anime style before she ran for the door, only to bump into Naruto. What the hell? Who are you? Naruto questioned with a raised eyebrow. Naruto, it's me. Takaru. Syria turned me and Yusui into women. Takaru exclaimed. Moments of silence passed, before any sound was made, and that sound was Naruto's boisterous laughter. Holy crap. Dude. You got demoted. Naruto exclaimed as he held his stomach from laughter. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Takaro yelled. Well, you had a thing, no you don't. Demoted. Naruto laughed as he fell on his hands and knees. Oh, wait, where's Usui? Naruto asked, but then he noticed Yuka playing with the now female Usui, making the blonde laugh even harder. Holy shit. Now Usui's the bitch. Naruto now was rolling on the floor laughing, his sides hurting him. Oh god, I can't take any more. I'm gonna pee. Naruto exclaimed as he laughed and took out his phone as he started taking pictures of the female Takaro and Kango. Hey. Don't just take pictures of us, you jerk. Takaro yelled with annoyance. Why not? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've got to seize the day. Carpe diem, dude. Naruto exclaimed with a toothy grin. You know Naruto-san, boys aren't allowed in here tilde. Siriya chimed with a smile. Huh. Naruto looked to the pop star. I can fix that. Siriya quickly slammed her hand on Naruto's chest as her Maken glowed. Hold on. Wait. Naruto shouted as suddenly he glowed and in his place was a female Naruto. Who looked just like his sexy jutsu self, but without the pigtails and, well. Holy shit. Your boobs. They're huge. Takaro shouted with wide anime eyes. Naruto, or Naruko in this case, slowly looked down to see her breasts. Holy crap. They're as big as Minori's. Kango shouted with shock as he and Yuka stared at Naruto's breasts in amazement. And to think if he was a girl, they would get bigger later on. Yuka said holding her right cheek. Naruto gritted her teeth as her now horror-stricken eyes grabbed a hold of her humongous cans. No fucking way. Naruto screamed as she then grabbed Siriya by the bra straps and pulled her over. You got 5 damn seconds to change this or you're dead. Naruto shouted with angry anime eyes. Oh wow, I have a big sister now. Anaho said with a cat-like smile. Naruto-kun looks so hot as a woman. I never thought I'd be lucky to see the day a Naruto gender bend would happen. Cha-cha said holding her cheeks as she stared with starry eyes of awe. This is so amazing Kimi chimed with the same expression as Cha-cha. No it's not. Naruto shouted as she tossed Siriya away, causing her to slam into the wall, making her dizzy. Suddenly flashes of light occurred making Naruto turn to see a smirking Takaro taking pictures of his female form. Oi! Naruto shouted with gritting teeth. Carpe diem. Takaro said with a smug smile and shrug making Naruto growl with a pissed anime face. Hey! Come back here lover boy. I'm not done with you yet. Minori shouted as she and Aki burst into the room, only to see a female Naruto in the room. They stared at the now busty female with gaped mouths and shocked blinking eyes. Naruto just jabbed her thumb in Siriya's direction, officially throwing her under the bus. Owie. My noggin. Siriya whined with a pout as she rubbed her head, but then she noticed 2 looming shadows over her making her look up only to shiver with new fear as Minori and Aki stood over her with frowns and shadowed eyes yet there was a shine of annoyance in them for a moment. See can I help you? Siriya asked with a nervous smile as she trembled with new fear. Suddenly she was grabbed by the 2 as they started shaking her. What the hell? Turn him back now. How do you expected a woman like myself to get pounded by that man's monster when he isn't even a man right now? Change him back this instant or feel my wrath. Minori shouted with a ticked anime face. I never even got my chance with him I'm still a virgin and I don't plan on losing my virginity to a woman Naruto. I want a man Naruto. A man. I want a male Naruto-kun to fill me up. Change him back. Aki cried with anime tears. Poor Siriya was getting super dizzy as her eyes became swirls. Female Takaro blinked at the scene while Naruto stared dully. Female Usui was being pleasured by Yuka once more. Naruto sighed. Yar dawa. Sitting outside drinking her tea, Tomiko relaxed, but managed to hear the ruckus. I wonder what is going on in there. She wondered. All the while, unknown to anyone, Jiraiya was watching from Shinobi World. So we're ending on a gender bend joke, classic. Jiraiya said with a wide smile.